Yo, what's up, funny? Going alright, I guess. I don't feel very good. I don't know. But I don't know. I feel better being up, but I don't feel good enough to sleep, so I gotta try to figure out what to do. Switching to keyboard and mouse. Congrats. You're switching to the thing that's better. That sucks, man. Hopefully you start feeling better. Yeah, hopefully. I don't know, man. Yeah, hopefully. Dude, you know what I could play? I could play Sailing Era, bro. Sailing Era. Game goes hard. I actually haven't played it in a while. It's pretty good. I played it a lot when it came out. Play some Roblox. Good. Dude, Sleeping Dogs, bro. What a fucking game. Game's so good. So those are two tough goals, man. I'm not a very funny guy, and both those require me being fun. Alright, I looked through all my games. And only one stood out. Even that one didn't really stand out that much. I still kind of don't want to play it. Good work on writing. Just wish I could listen to music while I do. Epic has a mega sale going on. I'm gonna look at it, I guess. Gonna get the $1 million. I don't know about that, bro. They have 25% on eligible titles, $14.99 and up, all sale along with Epic coupon. Enjoy another coupon each time you complete an eligible transaction. 25% off. I could get Star Wars Jedi Survivor for 25% off, bro. That's not too shabby. How much is that? Let me see how much it is. If it's 25% off, It'd be $52. That's still too much. It's still too much, but it's a start, though. Let me see what else there is. Spider-Man Miles Morales. What's up, Cot? Could get Dead Space. How much is Dead Space? 25% off. We gonna be checking all these games real quick. I don't know if I want to pay these amounts though. It's too much money, man. Be $35. That's not that bad though. These are actually some pretty good prices. Got tired of Apex matchmaking, bro? I'm about tired of Apex just in general, not because of matchmaking or anything. I just think it's boring. I was getting shit talked to my own chat earlier too as I was winning a game and dunking on everybody. Had some fucking loser in here. Had to ban him. First ban from my channel. Like, you're talking shit and like literally calling me bad as I won a game and smoked everybody. I'm just like, you're a dumbass. We'll see ya. We'll see you later. I've just been not happy. I mean, I'm not happy all the time, but I'm just not happy. And Apex is just kind of boring, to be honest. I mean, what is there left to do? I won a bunch. I got the highest rank before multiple times. I don't know. I'm just bored. Like, Apex is... Like, I mean, I felt this before, so, like, it might come back. But as of right now, like, current me, I think Apex is kind of boring right at the moment. I'm not going to lie. Just a bit boring. I'm not sure what changed. I was enjoying it a while back. It's just boring right now. I don't know. Can't get over that. It really is. Not seeing anything that I really want to spend this money on. Need for Speed Unbound. Is that any good? Probably not. Probably not great. Yeah, it's getting pretty boring. I'm just looking through deals right at the moment, seeing if anything's good. So far, nothing. Just need Diablo 4 to come out. Outlast, that was a good game. Yeah, all this is looking pretty bad. Pretty bad games here. Nothing too crazy. We're on page 18. I mean, there is 60 pages, so you know, there might be some games here somewhere, but. I don't know, man. I wish I felt better. I just don't. I would have just gone to sleep. I mean, I'm not that tired, but I was laying down and I was just like, nope, this ain't happening, bro. Looks like the only game that'd be really worth it using the discount on is either Dead Space or Star Wars, but Star Wars is like an expensive game. That's the problem. So like using the discount, it's only like $50. Doesn't like bring it down that much, you know. At least with Dead Space, it brings it to 35, which 35 is not too bad. But I don't know if I want Dead Space that much. Like, I mean, I kind of want it, but I kind of don't really care too much. Page 30. Running out of pages slowly. Crysis 3, I bet my PC can't run that shit, bro. Prey. That game looks alright, but it's also, I think, free on Game Pass. King's Bounty. What game is that? What is that game? That's not what I thought it was. What's up, Mary? What are you doing tonight? Are you doing anything? I don't know what to do. You're probably going to sleep soon. How are you? I don't feel very good. I don't know. I'm trying to find something to do. I can't go to sleep. I just don't feel well. I might work on my writing some more. That's what I've been doing on stream. I've been reading some of it and working on it. It just feels weird because I'm like talking to myself. Well, I mean, streaming, you're talking to yourself, but I'm talking to myself in silence, which is what I'm doing right now, which sounds weird to me. Like when I'm playing a game, at least there's like audio, you know. Like I can't listen to music because then you guys will hear it, and then YouTube will have a whole fit about it. Days Gone. I'm just checking. I'm going through games right now on Epic to see if there's anything I want. because they have a sale. But I don't think there is. I think it's all pretty boring. Yeah, I think the only game that's out right now that I want is Jedi Survivor, but I don't really want it enough to pay that much money for it. I want it like half off. I'll buy it for like 30, 35, maybe 40, but anything past that is pushing it. And it's like 53 with the discount, so it's expensive. A lot of money. Uh, um, that sounds good if it didn't make you sick. You were at the laundromat for 4 hours. That's crazy. I always hated going to do laundry at our old complex that I have, or that I had, or that I was staying at. But now I don't have anywhere to go, so I just like go to my mother's. But she's actually moving, so I'm gonna have to start going to laundromats, which is not great. I don't really want to do that. I'm gonna be honest. Damn, there's nothing. Far Cry. I got like 10 pages left to look through. This isn't looking good. Grand Theft Auto 5. Just Cause 4. I wonder if that game's fun. Just Cause 2 was so fun. I don't know. Just Cause 2 was like such a fun game. I hate cats so much. The Crew 2, only $5. Probably not that great though. Actually, I think that's on Game Pass as well. A lot of these games are just on Game Pass. Alright, I think I have like 2 pages left. Hang on. 3 pages left. Show me something, game. Nope, nothing on that one. Nothing on that one. And we done. I looked through all the pages, everything's bad. The only thing that's worth money is, yeah, those 2 games. And they're not worth that much money. Well, to be fair, Dead Space is $36 at the discount, which is not that bad. That isn't that bad. You hate cats? Yes. I have Grail hates cats too in my book. I have a Grail hating cats. Well, she doesn't really hate them, I guess, like I do. I have a Grail versus cat scene in my book, just to show how much I dislike them. Yeah, 4 is a lot. What does Grail call cats? I don't know. She doesn't call them anything. Probably she just calls them mean names. She doesn't call them anything, really. I should just do like a whole list of what Grail calls things. That's what I should work on. Just a list of what Grail calls things. I don't know if Mary was ever here for that discussion. Alright, here, I'll throw my writing on at least. So we're looking at something that I'm doing. Where is it? Boom. Alright, let's do that. I love cats. Damn, everyone likes cats. I hate them, bro. They're just annoying. There was one cat that I liked. Dogs are not my thing. I mean, I don't really like I don't really like pets. I like wild animals. I don't like pets. I don't like the idea of a pet because then it's well, so not always. I'm not saying this is always the case, but pets are like animals that depend on you, and I don't like that. I prefer it to be like a friendship, if that makes sense. So, like, I'd rather there be like a wild animal that I befriend than have a pet that I own that can't escape me. There's a difference, you know what I mean? It's like, well, okay, another good example is like, all right, my like dad and my grandfather have like a farm, right? And they had a dog. They had multiple dogs. And there's no fence line. So that dog, even though it's domesticated, it's like it's wild though, right? Like it can leave. Like nothing of us is stopping it. But it chooses to stay. Like it doesn't have a fence. There's nothing there keeping it to us, but it comes back. I like that. Cuz then you know it's like this animal wants us. It wants to be with us. Like it's our friend. He's our friend. He's here. He's not like, you know, on a chain. He's not trying to run away. Like I hate when I see people like you open your door and your pets are trying to get out. It doesn't mean that they like dislike you or want to leave. It just means they want to explore. I get it, but still, it's like they're trying to run away, and if you don't prevent that, then they will. So I don't really like that. You have a demon? That's crazy. That's what we call my cat. I mean, I actually think I could befriend a bear. I think that's something that I could do. I mean, I've just studied them a lot. Honestly, I studied bears a lot, and now, like, for this book, I studied them a lot, and the more I studied them, the more I'm like, I actually think that they're pretty nice. They're pretty intelligent. Well, again, I always say this every time. What do I say? What do I say when I bring up the bears? Female bears are nice. They're cool. Male bears are shit. They're pieces of shit. But yeah, female bears. I think I could befriend. I think I could befriend a female bear if she didn't have cubs. But that's a lot of stipulations there, right? If it's a male bear, you're just fucked. He's probably just like they're just pieces of shit. They're just pieces of shit. But if a female bear doesn't have cubs, they're not that aggressive. If it has cubs, though, like, I mean, yeah, you're gone. You're gone if you look at them. Dude, you guys haven't got to the bear yet. The bear is in, like, the bear shows itself in the part in Revenant, bro. The bear comes in Revenant. Let me get this cord so I'm not fucking talking to myself real quick. Hang on. I don't actually know where the cord's at. That might be it. Yeah, the Bears' first appearance is in Revenant, which is the next part. Alright, I can hear myself now. Holy shit, I can hear everything that happens in my room now. This mic picks up everything. Crazy. Actually, everything. I can hear everything. What the hell? It sounds so weird. Why? Oh, I can hear my mouse too, like so much. That's so weird. I don't know, maybe I just go no mic. Story, that's good. I do like that. We just gotta. I guess I can keep working on this. I don't know. Why do you know so much about bears? Because I researched them for my book. Because originally I made like Grail, you know, met the bear. Well, I mean, she didn't just meet the bear. Like, there's a big event that happens. Like, a big event happens. But, like, Grail kind of, yeah, befriends one, essentially, I guess, if you want to say that. And originally, I didn't know much about bears, so I was kind of worried about that. I was like, damn, is that too fantastical? Like, are people going to be like, oh, that's so fake, or that's so weird? Like, the whole book is serious, and then she has, like, a friend, basically bear. So then then I started researching it to be like, what can I do to make it realistic? And the more I researched it, the more I'm like, no, it's actually just, it's pretty realistic. I mean, it's not probable, but it is realistic because you could befriend a bear. Like, they're quite intelligent. They're not like, you know, they're not just like killing machines. So it makes sense. Like, the way it happens in my book, it makes sense basically. That's why I did so much research, though, is I was trying to figure out why bears attack, like when they attack, what they attack, how they act, kind of things like that. Yeah, the bear is a good symbol. Mary, we need to work on the map some more, but I need you for it. I feel like you're like the heart and soul of working on the map. All right, I'm gonna work on this. I guess I don't know. No, heart and soul. And I guess that works too, though. Yeah, it is fun. I haven't worked on it really since too much. I mean, I worked on the prison. The prison actually looks pretty good. Yeah, I don't have good memory. My memory's bad. Yeah, I like that line. That line is badass. I mean, all the lines. Honestly, I really like the beginning of this. This shit goes crazy, bro. I don't think I'm gonna call it this though. I think this is still the best title. Is just a less than peaceful side, but I don't know if it's perfect. I need to figure out what's gonna make her go from being like kind of on edge to like really. What if you remove the A? I think it'd be weird if I remove the A. I think it'd be weird. I mean, I can. I mean, there might be another title that comes up as I write this, though, because. Yeah, I'm sure there would be. Maybe the voice talks back to her here. Hmm. Wait, so Mary, what are your plans for tonight? Are you doing stuff still? I mean, Grail probably could, like an eye for an eye. That's some good shit right there. Brings the crime down. Oh, you're trying to edit. That's right. You did say that. Need a new video? Yeah, tell me about it. I just need to make shit and I don't. Really tough. I try to post every day still and it's really tough. It'd be cool if we could work on something together or something. Maybe that would like be nice to work on something with someone. But I don't know. I don't know what that would be or how that would work. Yeah, 4 hours is crazy. An edit? What do you mean? Yeah, I mean like I guess like yeah, like edit something together, but I mean it would probably have to be something that we did together. That would make more sense, but I don't know. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. But I don't really know what games you play or like if you would have enough time to or anything. I was thinking of like yeah, just like a series cuz then it's like if we make a series or something or like, you know, well yeah. A series with someone else is easier to do than a series by yourself, I feel like. So like me and Connor playing Dark Souls, right? Like that's easier because it's like me and him just want to play it anyway. So I just record it, and then all I got to do is just edit it. But if like he doesn't edit or anything like that, so it's not like he's not helping me. It's just like me doing it. But yeah, I have a lot of games on Steam and on Xbox. I don't have a PlayStation, but I used to. Well, actually, I probably do, but I don't. I'm not gonna play it. I think I do have once more. Yeah, Diablo 4 is gonna be fun. I can't wait for that. Maybe we could do that. What, Diablo 4? We could probably do that. I mean, I'm gonna play it with a few people, but I mean, like, I'd be down. I mean, I'm gonna play it with a couple people, but like I said, or I mean, not like I said, but there's like a bunch of different characters, so I'm probably gonna play every character to the highest level. So I imagine there's like 6 characters, so that's at least like six times I'm gonna play the game. And I think there's like 2 people I'm gonna play it with. Trying to remember. I'm gonna play with my dad for sure, because we used to play Diablo 3 a lot. And then who was the other person I was gonna play it with? I feel like I'm blanking. It might have been Connor, I guess. Yeah, if we did something, I'd rather it just be us, because so first of all, I don't really like gaming with multiple people. Like, I'm definitely like a one-on-one kind of gaming person. So like there's that. But also, the more people you add, the harder it would be to like make a series and like not play without each other, you know? Because if like me and you want to play something, all we need is me and you to be free. Whereas if a third person gets added, then now we need 3 people to get free. And every time you add someone, it gets harder and harder for everyone to be free at the same time. So I definitely say like whatever we do should just be us, probably. Think that would be better. Stream with your dad? Maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. Alright, do you guys want to hear these parts? Wait, how much has Mary heard? I don't think she's heard this part. I don't even know. She might not have heard this part either. But she also might be too focused on editing to care about it. I've only heard what you read me. Yeah, I know that, but I don't know what I read you, Mary. That's what I mean. I know you only know what I read you. That makes sense. I just don't know what I read to you. I know I read to you what? I read to you the intro piece to Grail. I'm assuming I read Frostbite, which is like the first part. Oh, I read On Volts, I think. I think you know On Volts. There's only bits and pieces. Wait, did you never hear the first part? I feel like you heard this first part. Did you never hear Frostbite? Like, does this look familiar to you? I don't know. I feel like that's the only thing I know. I read On Volts. I read that. I read the whole thing of On Volts. Or I think you were here. It was like that late night stream. I think it was like Funny, you, Wild, maybe was there. I think Raven joined at the very end. It was when I was playing Dead Island. I'm a slow reader too, depending on what it is. Well, I'm definitely slow when it's not my own writing. My own writing, I'm a bit quicker because I just know it a little bit. This isn't ringing a bell. Really? I feel like I read this, but I don't know. Well, what should I read? What should I read? Should I read it all? Read you a bedtime story. This isn't a very good bedtime story. Pretty sad and pretty bad. Sad and bad. Should catch Mary up, so I should just read it all. I was gonna read Revenant so you guys can see the bear, but that's part, well, I would have 1, 2, 3. We could skip this one. Well, I could read part of it, but it's not done. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, then the fourth part, basically. I've been having bad dreams too, yeah. I think it's more depressing for me. Not like, I don't know how to explain it. Not like in a bad way, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, alright, I'll read this to you. I feel like I read this to you, but I mean, read the bear? Well, I have to read the rest before we get to the bear if I'm gonna read the bear, so I gotta read 4 parts. It's not that, they're not that long, but I could do that. The bear's in Revenant. It's gonna be like, not a letdown, but it's like, it's not that big of a part. The bear's not like, it doesn't talk, So it's just kind of there. But it is cool, though. It is cool, though. Alright, I'm about to read from Frostbite to Revenant. Without a drink, which sucks. Alright. And start from the beginning. Yeah, I'll read every part, and then you guys can discuss after if you want. In between whichever ones. I mean, it helps me make sure it's good, too, so I might throw some edits in, but I think, for the most part, I think we got the first 3 down now, because I went through and edited, so there might be a few lines I don't like, but pretty much done. Alright. Frost, harsh enough to turn live bodies into hollow vessels, accompanied by wind that whipped and slashed shards against the skin, leaving men both frozen and forgotten. A lifetime of pain and suffering, while not the most glamorous, stands tall in the field of teaching. The strongest of warriors were not taught by striking sword to wooden post, but by having heavy practice blades break bones at slightest mistake. In a place that holds no remorse, only the strong survive. But this young girl was no warrior. She was nothing of note, a child of woe left to solitary, to fend for herself, pure isolation. Well, that was the only enjoyable thing that snow-coated prison that many more wealthy than her called their home. 1 second. Well, that was the only enjoyable thing about that snow-coated... I feel like it should be right? Well, that was the only enjoyable thing about the snow-coated prison that many more wealthy than her called their home. Yeah. While her memories of that place were bleak, that night played in her head over and over again. It was far too long ago to recall any exact details, and every attempt to pull some back only led to them slipping further out of reach. Traversing these fragments of her past felt like running on an iced-over lake. The more she tried to speed up, the more time she would need to spend recovering, lest she plunge into the water below. This faint vision in her mind showed that of a young girl born without a heart, but it was not this iced-over city she found herself in that proved too much for its subtle beat. It was something far worse than frostbite that took her heart. At least those long days of starvation were set to end once her older sister came back with food. Ripples in the memory didn't allow for her to recount that wondrous taste of life, but it did recount an image of her sister looking at her with those loving eyes, an image that now made her chest feel empty. There is no such thing as true happiness, not for a child left on her own, unwanted. Her parents didn't even give her a name until when she was born. She was a mistake, and along with her sister, they threw her to the streets before disappearing. Even those days weren't too bad, starving and barely surviving. At least back then she had the warmth of another, her sister. Too bad that warmth faded quicker than flame in the endless white, for one day she woke up and her sister was nowhere to be found. Her sister was gone like the light in her eyes, gone like the hope in her chest, gone like the smile on her face, and gone like the blood in her veins as she slid glass across her wrist one more time.
The memories torturing this soul broke again as she tried to recall the simplest of things. She tried to recall her sister's name. Was Eleanor the name she should be cursing? Or was it Elena? Would she even recognize it if she were to hear it again? There were so many holes in her memory she didn't even know how she ended up here. All the memories of her early years were from one place that she never recalled leaving, a place far lower in temperature than Vela, the city resting on the coast of the Amethyst Sea that she now found herself in. Some people here said she was born from the wild, and sometimes she wondered if that were true. These memories were so loose in her mind that occasionally she questioned if she even had a mother. Was it possible to be born without one? But other days she dreamt of doing bad things to her if she ever found out the truth. All these things piled into this young teen's mind as she continued to watch blood streak from her arm. This method wasn't as satisfying as she had hoped. The other way was so much better, but she didn't have enough energy to throw down tonight. Cutting was only a way to transform sorrow into pain, but this little girl had no sorrow left to shed. It was a feral hate that whipped around inside her chest, so if cutting was a tool for sadness, she needed something much more for this hate. She needed something much more for this hate. After all, if there was one thing she knew, it was that one can rid themselves of all shortcomings. You just have to do it proper. The shard in her hand turned to face her heart. She was itching to dig it deep and search for worth that she knew was hidden beneath. Unfortunately, she couldn't muster the courage. The vision would have to do for now. It played out vividly in her mind as her days went on, scrounging for food in the shadows as a volcano of hate hid beneath her skin. Although a few things did seem to hold back that fury inside her, like the night she found herself laying under the stars in the forest as she watched the local wildlife, but those nights she found herself in Vela were different. In Vela, she always found herself in the Renmore district looking for a quiet corner to lie down. Some nights were as silent as they get, and other nights you were forced to pretend you didn't hear someone getting run down and bladed on the street. It wasn't until now that she had an interesting thought. She had been there for years. Why did she stay in the most vile place? Would they kick her off the streets in northern Vela? You know why, said the voice in her head. You belong down here. Make something of yourself. I know you want this. It loomed in her head with sinister intent. Can you feel that? A voice manifested by pure hatred that never rested. It implanted visions of hurting herself and others into her mind at every turn. It was no life to live. This lonely child didn't even know her own age. Not that it mattered to her. Age was nothing to celebrate. Whether she was here for 15 or 16 years did not matter. The only thing that mattered were the wars she fought in and outside her mind, the scars that spanned her body, both from animal attacks and fits of her own rage. She hadn't achieved anything in life, and that voice in her head constantly reminded her that she was nothing, weak and worthless. This went on for months, and while the forest was nice, berries only did so much for someone her size. She may have been young, but this little girl was a soon-to-be giant. Luckily for her, one night she happened to spot food left in a forgotten bando. She didn't question why or who had left it, because that mattered not, for if the choice was to starve or steal, there was only one correct answer. She refused to leave this world weak and worthless. She refused to end up like her sister, frozen and forgotten. Luckily for this young girl, she would soon get an opportunity to prove that she was something more, an opportunity to stop wishing for respect and start demanding it. But the road to legacy is not one so easily traveled. There were many obstacles in her way, and she knew that. But what she didn't know was what was lurking in the pitch that stormy night, nor the legacy it carried within its long, chilling blade. Boom, part 1. Done. Pretty good. I like that part. Like, a little bit, like, tiny edits there. Couple, like, odd words. I think I just mistyped them, to be honest, because they were mostly correct. They were just, like, slight edits, but I probably just overlooked them the first time. Damn, I need some water, but I don't have any water, I don't think. Let me see what I can find real quick. Let me get a drink.
Alright, I'm back. Yeah, I knew I read it to you before. I was gonna say, I know I've read this to you before. You know, I think I might have read it to you before I streamed. I think that's what happened. I think I read it to you when we were talking one night. I think that's what happened, but I couldn't remember. Alright. Alright. So part 2, Yin. Looking at the moldy bread that she held in her hand, tonight was set up to be the last night before another week of starvation, another week to question existence, another to question why she left. This daughter of the void, birthed from Mother Nature, was all alone, a nameless kid with hate embedded in her heart, hate that needed a place to go. It was scratching and clawing at her skin, trying to convince its master to allow it just one moment of control. That's all it needed. This lost cub found herself in a forgotten bando looking at the last piece of bread she had for the week. She thought long about her next move. Finding food while you were alone was already a struggle, but finding food in Renmore or Waterside could just as easily result in finding the bad end of a blade. The more she thought about it, the less appetizing it became. It wasn't about hunger, it was about her energy or lack thereof. Each question convinced her further that she was not meant to be, a mistake, a disaster piece that no one wanted. The rain dancing on the roof and wind blowing through the cracked window were her only company, along with the occasional burst of thunder that rocked these weak stone walls. Then footsteps broke the cycle. Heavy and careless, they made their way to the door, stopping when they noticed it had been moved since they were last home. An uninvited guest she found herself once more. It made sense now. Despite this abandoned shop being run down and ragged, in Renmore it may have well been a mansion. Of course someone lived here. This endling found herself with only one option. To run. Yeah, this should be italics. Well, not the only option, said the voice in her head, a voice of pure dread and hatred that knew exactly how to stoke her flame. If only you weren't weak, you could make something of yourself tonight. No talking required, just find some random neek on the ends, grip and glide. Or even better, you could be the one that ends up face down in the eaves. Its words cut deep, especially because it had a point. Why keep fighting for nothing? Maybe it was for the best if her heart was to stop this uphill battle. Many times has a blade sounded like the most simple option. No more thoughts, no more voice telling her she wasn't good enough. Regardless, she shook the voice clear, like she did so many times before. It was time to leave. There was no talking yourself clear in Renmore, even more so when she saw the silhouette of the man stepping inside. She knew who he was. She even recognized him before she saw the notorious knife he pulled from his hip, a well-known striker affiliated with Wayside, a man known not for talking, but for slinging metal with renowned killers. It all made sense now. A bando with bags and food left unguarded? Of course it was too good to be true. Votan did not care for her. This is no sign from the gods. Yet another time in her life where she was not welcome, another moment she was searching for a place to go. As he slipped through the door with his blade ready, she knew the window was her only option. The glass would surely sting, but she had no time to think about that. She had to take off now or it would be too late. Like a cat taking off after a mouse, she pounced out of the shadows and straight to the window. Dicing her hands and legs in the process, she lifted herself up, struggling in her fight against gravity. But she could hear them, those heavy boots slamming the ground before a hand grabbed her waist. With an intent to pull her back from the window, he yanked her down, causing her legs to raise and head to dip straight down into broken glass. Deep red showered the window and floor as 1,000 microscopic shards traveled into her lip. Some sliced clean through as her head slid from window to floor, but many remained inside, dicing her inner lip with future infection. Now she found herself with no time to escape. One way or another, a legacy would end tonight. His hand grabbed her shoulder to flip her around for what she imagined that long blade would make of her. Then it happened. The passenger within. Whether she meant for it or not, it took complete control. Her hand was dripping with blood from the glass, but it wasn't until now she noticed that this cut was not accidental. Her hand was only cut because she had broken off a piece of that glass. A piece of glass. Piece of that glass. I think that's better. A piece of that glass.
There was no more thinking, just instincts, a burning tornado of sickness and disgust for the world that tossed her aside. All of a sudden, his boots went silent against the stone. Vilna put a halt on the whipping wind and brewing storm. The world went silent. Even her heart that was about to beat out of her chest ceased to pulse within her. There wasn't a single noise within miles, pure silence and isolation, the same as every cold night she spent alone. As he flipped her over to see his victim, she gripped the shard with malicious intent and drove the angle of glass straight into his throat with little to no resistance. He never saw it coming, and yet, as the shard grazed off bone, He never saw it coming, and yet, as the shard grazed off bone, she somehow never felt a thing. Not the heft of her swing, nor the blood splatter across her arm and freckle her face, and most certainly not any form of remorse. For the first time, her mind was not present in this restless world. She was only watching from behind a barrier of heated veins hidden by the greatest armor to ever adorn her, an armor of pure numbness. With a clang only heard by one, the knife dropped to the floor as he stumbled back, holding a fountain of life from leaving his neck. It felt so good watching his expression change as she stood tall, the realization that memories would soon fade. It almost felt better than the rigid grip of his elongated blade. Almost. In this plane of silence, she couldn't hear him scream. She couldn't hear or feel a thing, or so she thought. But oddly, only one thing in this moment she felt. She didn't understand why, but who was she to question it? After all, it was only now she realized how good it felt to punch a blade down into someone so hard that it began to chip marrow and break bones. He tried to distance himself, but her youth made her quick. She jumped onto him, sending him toppling over as she splashed him to the ground with his own blade time and time again, a flurry of hate and sorrow delivered in each blow. The thought of everyone that left her or wronged her made each strike much more aggressive. Every smile, every couple seen walking together, every ounce of happiness she had seen in others throughout her life fueled what she was dishing out, what she was now dishing out. Subconsciously, she counted to 9, then in the midst of murder locked eyes with him. Terror is what she saw as he shared his final moments with her, but for our lonely cub, she saw a hint of respect. Maybe it wasn't respect in its traditional form, but respect born from fear. He didn't take precaution when he enclosed this wild animal, and its bite was much deadlier than he could ever imagined. A small snake with venom-laced fangs, a fatal bite. Finally, sound returned to her as she pulled the blade from him one last time. 9 may have been the number she counted to, but the marks in him told a much more savage story, relentless. She wiped blood from the blade onto her pants before huffing out the last bit of anger she had. It was a mystery to her why she didn't hear or feel a thing, but now, suddenly the pain hit her all at once, a mouthful of torment that stung so bad it felt like her jaw was coming loose. Then the beating of her heart and crashing of thunder let her know the fight was truly over. Every one of her senses had returned. Trying to think. I don't know if I like that line, but anyways. Yeah, we'll leave it. There was so much blood coming from her lip, she knew she couldn't leave it to fix itself. She would need to fix this, but first she needed a clear view of the damage that had been done. A few ideas popped up into her head as she quickly searched his pockets, taking anything and everything he had, even going as far to take his heavy black boots that he wore. While they were a bit big for her now, he wouldn't be needing them anymore, and she couldn't pass up an opportunity at gaining something so valuable. If she couldn't wear them, she could trade them for coin, or better yet, some much-needed nutrition. Now it was time to find that weird wall she had seen a few months back when she had snuck into the tavern looking for food. A wall that somehow reflected her image back at her, something she had only experienced with the water before. That was the best way for her to get a glimpse at her lip. All she knew right now was that it was enough blood to make a man sick. Her stomach was beginning to turn, but as she got closer to the door, her eyes met with that last piece of bread, for her stomach did not turn from blood, but from hunger. It seemed that somehow sending that man down gave her purpose or justified her being, and while it may be a while before she could eat again without pain, at least when she walked out of this banda with one last piece of life, she felt like there might be a place for her in this world after all. 16 years of existence, and this was the first time this child felt yen. Just one step out into the pouring rain while glancing down at that sinister kitch gripped firmly in her right hand, she knew she found her obsession. Boom, part 2's done.
Now we're on to stuff that I know I haven't read to you. Or I'm, like, pretty much sure. Because I wasn't sure about that one. You know what's weird is it felt like this one took longer for me to read. Even though, look at the words, 1200, 1700. I felt like this one took longer, I don't know why. This one's almost 2000. You don't remember that one? I couldn't remember if I read that one or not. That's where she gets her, like, ego from, I think. I like the references. There's a lot of good references in there. Like, also that's a showcase to, like, the quote unquote the plane of silence, which is like when she gets really, really mad, she can't hear anything. Which is what happened there, obviously. It's like the thunder stopped and the rain stopped and like everything was gone. It's just like she didn't hear anything anymore. And then when she killed the guy, she felt a bit better, and then it came back to her. Which is pretty interesting. But yeah, it's referred to as like the plane of silence. That's what I refer to it as anyways. So I like this line too, like, with a clang only heard by one. Because, like, he hears it, you know? It's like the knife's falling to the floor, he hears it, but it's like it's only heard by one, because she doesn't hear anything. There's a lot of good lines in here I like. Alright. So part 3, vehemence. Streaks of light tore through the air like the glass in her lip. Each step left behind a red trail that was quickly doused with rain and lost in mud. This sensation that sprouted from her mouth was sickening, like a dam that had burst, spewing water out with nothing to still its flow. The taste of iron had her spitting blood every few steps, but that still wasn't enough. At least her rage had dimmed down after taking that man's soul. The more her mind thought about it, the less it thought of the pain she was in. Don't make a big deal about it. Look at how you left that man drowning. You're fine. The voice attempted to calm her. Man's fine, she huffed, questioning its wording. Repeating its wording? I'm gonna say repeating instead of questioning. Repeating its wording. Man's fine, she huffed, repeating its wording. But her lip, nearly split into two straight down the center, did not make her feel fine. I'm adding that too. I love that line. That's a cool line. That's cool. Yeah. Man's fine, she huffed, repeating its wording, but her lip, nearly split into two straight down the center, did not make her feel fine. However, its words still got to her. She wasn't trying to make a big scene out of anything. She was still standing, and she came out of that banda with so much more than she went in with. So everything was fine. She just had to find a way to reform her lip. No problem. I've seen man do it before, she thought. I don't know. Should she say this? No, I think it's fine. Like, she has her inner thoughts. It's just not always the bad ones. So it makes sense. Yeah. No problem. I've seen man do it before, she thought. Again, she glanced down at the wicked blade adorning her side. Her newly acquainted friend. One with silence that she enjoyed, for it did not question her hate. It didn't make her feel bad for what she had done. Instead, it brought her comfort. She tracked through mud and ruined stone down the center of Renmore with no fear at all. How could she produce fear with this extension in hand? Part of her was secretly hoping someone else would try to run up on her, but those thoughts were interrupted with each drop of rain that impacted her lip, feeling like a bundle of needles breaking the skin each time. The more time that went by, the more she could feel the racing pain that glass had caused. By this time, she was nearly drunk on blood. She needed to pick up the pace. Oh, I said that here, too. She needed to... Well, I mean, it's different line, but anyways. She needed to pick up the pace. The streets were mostly vacant at this time of night. Only a few strikers and thieves were out at this hour. She passed by another abandoned building, another disregarded shop, and another forgotten school. She passed building after building before finally coming to the main road and seeing an upcoming figure. Looking like a walking corpse made it easy to get their attention, and once she was close enough to start speaking, she did, moving her bottom lip as little as possible.
Man just got caught with a mad ting. I need man's help. She fumbled through her words as blood seeped through her teeth. The man didn't even lock eyes with her long enough to show any compassion. He just kept on walking by. A young girl with an injury in the dead of night? He had heard this story before and wanted nothing to do with it. She mattered not to him. Why would he take any of the risk? In the past, people here had used young women with youthful appearances to pretend to be girls that needed help, just to bait them into being robbed of everything they had. But not him. Not tonight. He continued on like she was a ghost, an unseen entity roaming the streets in search for any form of help. Quit asking for help. Fix it yourself. Don't be a bitch. Maybe then you'll finally have some fucking worth. She stopped at the sound of the voice in her head, a twisted shadow of herself that's words caused a flash in her mind, a premonition that showed her forcing this. Could be this. Let's see. She stopped at the sound of the voice in her head. A twisted shadow of herself that's words caused a flash in her mind, a premonition that showed her forcing this kitsch into herself with force and anger. In that short second, she felt her hand twitch, like she was ready to send it. The feeling surged through her body without warning. She had felt this before. It was the same feeling she felt the last time she hurt herself. But she was in control this time and wouldn't let it do her wrong. It caught her in a slightly better mood than normal, because for the first time in her life, someone seemed to look at her with respect. A face she would not soon forget as she continued down this path of legacy. Without words, she made her way to the first thing that came to her mind, a tavern with holes in the wooden walls and a sign long faded. She knew no one would help her there, but she was beyond the point of asking for help. She needed to use that reflection wall. With force, she burst through the swinging doors, tracking mud inside and stomping like she was marching for war. All eyes snapped to the leaking stray, a kid far taller and bigger than most. Hey, one man near a crackling fire stood up quickly with an angered gaze. Fuck you doing here? Get the fuck out before this nank'll take your lungs. But hearing his words did little for her, for what was a threat to someone who was willing to die each and every second of their life? Although subconsciously she tightened the grip on both the boots and the long blade she held as part of her welcome the thought. This blade extended far more than any other kitsch around. It was an infamous blade that turned heads and shut mouths. It didn't dawn on her until now that just the sight of these boots and this blade would cause suspicion, but with her current state, she had no time to explain. The young lady in the dirt-caked mirror greeted her with disgust as she turned the knife to herself and started to rip a thread from her filthy clothing. It was about to be hell. She had never stitched anything up before, but there was a first time for everything. At least she had seen it done once. Just as she finished tearing off a small strand, a tall man with shoulder-length dark brown hair dressed in rugged clothing approached her casually. He must have been in his early 20s, a man she had never seen before. You know what you're doing? He spoke with an outstretched hand, holding a needle. Do you? The voice in her head mimicked. Of course not. You haven't done anything right since you broke your knuckles. At least back then you had some fucking passion. You weren't weak back then. With a shaking hand, he watched her fasten the string and lean into the mirror, poking the needle through skin and pulling it through her outstretched lip. That was the plan, anyway. But the needle just opened the wound more. The glass shard still inside her lip sent pain down her spine as more and more blood came flowing out. Sent pain racing down her spine as more and more blood came flowing out. Me and the mandem done this bare times. Let the mandem help. The man tried to take the needle from her, but she wouldn't let him, partially out of distrust and partially because the voice in her head wouldn't stay quiet. Not even enough passion to knock yourself out like you used to. Again she tried, this time catching a piece of glass with the needle as it tore more through her lip. Her anger rose once more as she felt judging eyes on her, a third man behind her letting out the faintest laugh as he continued to drink. At least the gal has some passion. He spoke into a mug. Passion? She slammed the needle down on the table and turned around with vigorous eyes that lingered, leaving a dominant presence about. She took one step towards him with confrontation in her tone as she stormed towards that fire pit. See, I don't like this line either. She took one step towards him with confrontation in her tone. That sounds good. Let's do like this. I think that sounds better, maybe. She took one step towards him with confrontation in her tone before storming towards the fire pit. Yeah. She knew what needed to be done, and so did the passenger. With haste, she passed him, lifting the poker that sat in the flame and placing one hand on the center. Burning her hand was the least of her worries, and any thought of that was instantly blasted from her mind as she placed the heated tip over both ends of her poorly sewn lip, fusing them together with extreme heat. Her eyes closed as a lifetime of suffering traveled through her body. It felt like her head was going to be engulfed in flames as she let the iron fall to the tavern floor. Her knees went weak and head shook as she let out a shrieking cry, but through the groans of pain, her eyes still found a moment to look up and stare into his soul as she dreamt of taking it. Is that enough fucking passion for my man? She hissed with as little movement in her mouth as possible, but responding to the man before her, both responding to the man before her and the voice mocking her in her head. Her actions had officially soured the man's drink and had ruined any appetite for drunken fun before what happened to be a big night for them. Then, with a loud mound of fumbling, another member dashed into the room following the screams with a curved short sword known in slang as a Sammy. "Vic? It's all right, it's under control," replied the man who had given her the needle, the only man that attempted to help her, who now was rushing over to be by her side. "Hey Vic, we gonna sit here and babysit, or can us man go and get that grail?" With resentment upon his face, Vic gave his fellow striker disapproval as he pulled the wounded girl to her feet and slung her arm over his shoulder. "Fuck that. You men can go, but I think we might have just had a grail wander through our door. Man's gonna stay here and help the stray," he spoke as he began walking her towards the hall in the back. Each thought that passed through her mind was swift, coming and going like everything life brought her way, and before she knew it, she was walking down a hall that seemed to never end. One that felt like a spacer between life and death. She felt so much pain that she could have sworn this was the end. It was causing her to trip out, nearly falling unconscious and then restabilizing again and again. While she still didn't trust him, she knew she would be fine, for as long as she slept with this long blade, nothing could hurt her anymore. Then she noticed Vic's eyes glued to it Then she noticed Vic's eyes glued to it. It seemed she wasn't the only one who felt such longing for its presence, or perhaps its notoriety extended past what she previously anticipated. "Is man gone?" he asked, breaking the silence as he led her into a secluded room. Palm hovering over her mouth, her eyes shot up to his. "What the fuck do I look like? Of course he's gone," her inner demon snapped. "Man's gone like the rest. I snatched his blade and made him swim." She spoke through her teeth with immense pain seeping into her voice. Still stunned by her words, he wasn't sure how to respond to such animosity. Instead, he slowly began putting together a bowl of crushed up leaves and berries that were stashed away, one sure to numb her pain. "This'll help with the pain, not with all, but with most." "Rah, let me be," she twisted. "Maybe then you'll realize man's not useless." "No one ever said you were useless. Certainly not me. I think you're far from useless. That's why man's back here with you and not gliding with Gangdom," he replied with sincerity, causing her to rethink for a moment before another cycle of pain tore through her lip. "Tch, well, if man don't think I'm useless," she struggled to maintain thought, "then what's a grail?" And that's part 3. Part 3 done. Boom, what's a grail? She doesn't know what a grail is. Boom, part done. I did the editing of this, yesterday, and it came out, this whole last part, I had to redo this whole last part pretty much, but I think it sounds good now. Lots of dialogue in this one. She finally talks a lot, You get to hear a lot in here. Well, a decent bit. Not a lot, but a decent bit. You're a good writer, appreciate that. I think I'm really good at writing this. The Nelly one is what I'm worried about. I'm good at writing this, because this is my shit. It's mostly what I feel, and I don't know. I relate to a lot of these characters in different ways. Especially Grail, obviously, so I think this one's easier for me to write. But I do there's certain times where I get in my bag. So I was in my bag right here, I think. Here, I'll read this part. This is really easy. I was in my bag. I'll explain in a second. I'm gonna read this. This is super short, you can see. It's 600 words. So this is like, I'm working on this part, right? So we've got these 3 parts that I just read you. They're pretty much done. We've got this part, which is going to be part 4. And then it'll bring us into Revenant, which is already done, basically. Well, close to, it needs to be edited and like tuned up, but it's done in terms of plot. So anyways, I'll read this real quick, because I feel like I was in my bag for part of this. Alright, I wrote this yesterday. A Less Than Peaceful Side. I don't know if that's going to be the title, but that's what it is right now. It all starts with a small twitch in the neck, that moment when blinking becomes a forgotten art and isolation sets in, when the body holds no movement except that quickened heart rate that keeps you from rest, and wicked thoughts wage war inside your brain until one side gains the upper hand. That moment when 1 second you're trying to sleep, and the next you find yourself gripping a blade to your chest. There is no pain despite the blood that's leaving you rapidly. The only pain comes from remembrance of past mistakes and long-left joys. There is nothing to complain about. It's just another night spent alone with thoughts that seek to rip up tops. Alas, finally the first thing she felt was that of a lone tear forming down her cheek. This was it, the last straw. It ends here, so pick up the pace. Pain wasn't enough to convince the long blade to leave her ribcage within. Just like her feelings, they were quickly disregarded by all. This wonderful sensation she had gifted before, but never received. She had no idea how much she was missing out on. This cold steel embrace took away her worries with a flash, just what the gruesome doc had ordered. Her only regret was that with her dying breath she would not be able to sling this kitch one more time for good measure. Eventually her arm went limp and blade slung to the floor, eyes remaining stuck to the ceiling waiting for something inhumane to take her away. The blood that formed around her felt like that of a warm lake. Now the sheets were stuck to her like each word of disrespect muttered on the streets, backed by spineless neeks that didn't feel an ounce of what she felt. They think they feel like us? Questioned the dark voice in her head, spitting nothing but disgust. And with one final breath, only one sentence was quick to formulate, leaving her mouth along with the vital essence of life. Man ain't ever felt hate till you walked a block with a fucking nank, praying some worthless neek prees at them too long so you can turn a man into fucking dust. As her eyes burst open, she hesitated to move. She had yet to realize the blood only existed in her dreams. But that blade was not a work of fiction. It was held tightly in her hand, hidden beneath the covers as if it were her lover. But for the first time, it made her feel uneasy. Not enough to let go of course, but nervous enough to where she repositioned her body in such a way that would possibly prevent unfriendly interaction. So pretty much, like, I have that. That's like an intro to this part. So she's having, like, she has a dream, basically. Like, this, I think I'm gonna, like, I need to add a line in here to where it's, like, more obvious. Well, I guess you guys can let me know. Do you feel like it's obvious that she's, like, she's stabbing herself here? Is it obvious? Because I didn't write a line. Like, I didn't write a line that's like, she's stabbing herself. But obviously, I wrote multiple lines where it's like... So it's like, obviously, like, okay, she's seeking to rip up tops. That's, like, what it says. And then it's like, this is it. It ends here, so pick up the pace, which is a reference to it as well a little bit. And then it's like pain wasn't enough to convince the long blade to leave her ribcage within. So, like, obviously, the long blade's fucking her up. She's the one that has it. Like, just like her feelings, they were disregarded by all, like, as a reference to it. And then also this, like she gifted this before but never received it, like, talking about stabbing someone. And then, like, she had no idea what she's missing out on. This cold steel embrace took away her worries with a flash. Like, so is that, like, is it obvious enough? I mean, I feel like it's obvious, right? Or should I add another line that's like, she's stabbing herself? But anyways, it's obviously a dream. Like, she wakes up, you know, hesitating to move because she's like, she doesn't know the blood only exists in her dreams. But this blade is not a work of fiction. I really like, this is like what I mean by my bag, though. I have like these weird lines. It's not obvious. It probably needs to be obvious. I probably need to add another line that makes it more obvious. Basically, it's like she's stabbing herself in the beginning of this. I feel like I was in my bag when I wrote this because, like, it's the weird lines. It's the weird lines. Like, anytime I'm writing weird lines, I'm in my bag, though. Like, the examples are, like, which ones are they? Like, this one, Like, yeah, this is like my bag shit. Like, this cold steel embrace took away her worries with a flash of just what the gruesome doc had ordered. I just wrote that shit, and I was just like, yeah, that goes hard. Like that, and then this fucking line right here. I love this line. Like, it was held tightly in her hand, hidden beneath the covers as if it were her lover. Like that's crazy because like she always sleeps with the knife. She sleeps with the knife and like, and also like yeah, I have like a couple lines where she talks about her knife the same way other people talk about their like the other guys talk about their girls, kind of, in a way. Like, it's funny. Like, she obviously is pretty I don't know, she likes it. It's always around. So there's somewhat of like a thing there. And then so then the plan of this part, so you guys are like, you understand how Revenant like will start. Basically, the plan is like, so she has the dream. Like, she has the dream of her like stabbing herself. She wakes up. It's not real, obviously. It's a dream. But then it's like the blade now makes her feel uneasy for a little bit, but like not enough to let go of course. She's just repositioning in bed to where maybe it would help prevent that sort of interaction. Does her blade have a name? It's called the Long Blade. So far, it's only been referred to as like that long blade or this long blade, but she calls it the Long Blade. Like, that's specifically its name. Like, she'll be like, "Where's my long blade?" Like, that's like her. It's kind of a weird name. It's a literal name, but that's like a Grail thing. She's very literal, so she calls it the Long Blade. All right, so anyways, so now she goes to sleep with her knife like under something, kind of like holding it, but it's more out of her way because she feels a bit nervous. Um, and then something happens where that dream basically kind of comes true. Well, not quite. She throws the knife away, basically. She like, or well, not throws it away, but she throws it. She gets mad and she hits shit. She like busts some shit up. And then this would happen. So this isn't written perfectly yet, but this is like plot idea basically. There was only one thing left to do. She scoured the room for something to write upon, then with broken fingers began to write. The writing was poor, both due to pain and her lack of spelling knowledge. The words didn't look right. She didn't know much and her hand pulsed with pain. Using her left, she's right-handed. Like, she broke her right hand. Or like she fucked it up at least. Using her left, she wrote sloppily the only thing she knew she could. "Thank you, Vic," it read. Then a dash separated the words from what should be her signature, although this nameless kid would die absent name soon. But being remembered, deep down that still meant something to her, so instead, with tremendous pain, she signed a name slowly. Grail. Then in a split second, she lifted the pencil in the air, and by the time it struck desk, nothing was left but dust. So like that's kind of how it should end, is something like that, right? So she ends up like trying to write a note to Vic, basically basically thanking him, which implies that she's gonna die. And obviously based on her dream and stuff, you can assume that it might be by her own like hand, essentially, right? That's the implication, is like it's not looking good for her. But yeah, she's gonna like write, but she's pretty bad at writing. And well, I mean, especially like she's using her left hand to write. That's another thing I thought of like yesterday that's something I just felt, because like recently I got really mad and I just like fucked up my hand pretty bad. So it's like well, I mean, my hand's fine right now, but basically I had to kind of do this shit, like different shit, like left-handed shit, you know, and I can't do it. So that's why I wanted to write Grail doing it, because I don't know. I mean, yeah, most of the stuff that Grail thinks or whatever is stuff that I've thought or whatever, or all that good shit. It's a bit, obviously, you know, it's Grail. I don't know, it's Grail. So yeah, I wanted to do that. I don't know. This whole first part is nasty though. I really like it. It's it fits the vibe that I wanted to fit. It's like her dream is ruthless, but I also like there's like a reference to like the tear. Like the first thing she felt is the tear. So she's obviously like not well as well. I like the line of like they think they feel like us. Like it's not like, even though it's her own voice, it's not saying like me. It's like not first person. They think they feel like us. Like, I like that too. And she's responding by saying, like, you have never felt hate until you've walked the block with an ink. Like, basically looking to kill someone. Like, that's when you felt hate. And maybe even then you haven't. And maybe then you're just an idiot. Like, that. Honestly, I should add that line in there where it's like, you haven't felt it until you've walked with an ink. And even then you're probably still just an idiot. I might even add that, because that's like a good point too, because there's like a difference. There's a difference between people like Grail who like really have this much anger, and then people that like do dumb shit because they don't know what the fuck they're doing, or they don't understand like the magnitude of the situation, sort of shit. But this line's already pretty good, so I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, I could like at least write it. I don't know if I'll add it there, but I think it's a good idea for a line. What word do they use? I'm trying to think for stupid. I feel like they've got a slang term for it. I feel like they've got a slang term for it, but I don't know. Because I don't think she would use the word stupid. I don't know, I'll just write that. I'll remember it now. I'll figure it out later, but yeah, that could be a line. That could be a line somewhere else. Alright. I don't know if Funny's still here. Hopefully he is. Because now we're gonna meet the bear, even though it's just like... I mean, it's hardly a... Like, it's just a... It's well, it's not just a bear. But it is, like... It's an animal, you know. Can't talk to her or anything. But they do have a little moment. It's kind of nice. Okay, you are still here. Good. Alright. I haven't read this part to anybody. Not online. Or not on stream, at least, for sure. Alright. Revenant. So this will happen right after this. So, like, obviously the setup is that she feels like she wants to die. She's pretty angry. She writes Vic the note. Revenant. One step into the woods felt like the last step that would send you spiraling off the highest mountaintop. She knew she would not return this night. Oh, by the way, I have not edited this, so it's like, it should be good, but it's not gonna be like perfect. I'm gonna go over this like multiple more times. But anyways. She knew she would not return this night. With streaks in her eyes, she brushed past the trees, sending birds and critters to scatter just like those that left her in the past. It didn't matter now. All she wanted was a nice place to rest, someplace no one would bother her, and she knew just the place. Then she could talk herself mad until she had enough and end things with this jagged kitsch. She walked for half an hour with nothing on her mind until she came to a small lake with a rigid cliffside to the south. It was the closest thing she had to a home, such a beautiful place to die. The sun setting in the distance shot a beam of light across the water, but that did not interest this tortured soul. Without hesitation, she made her way to the top of the cliffside where she rested her head many nights, a lovely overlook to the lake. Then she thought of the bear. Would she see her once more? Should she wait for her? A part of her wanted to wait, end thing on a high note. For 5 years she would come out here, and each night she did, she would watch this bear come to drink and fish while the sun set. Sadly, she knew the bear cared not for her. It was time. Suppose I won't see you again then, she said quietly. Don't worry, it never noticed you, said the voice in her head as she took a seat near the edge, but she paid no attention. Just another thought of hers wasted because no one truly knew her. That's dirty, bro. It's actually dirty. She's like, suppose I won't see you again. And then the voice is like, don't worry, it never noticed you. That shit's so dirty, bro. Anyways. Just another thought of hers wasted because no one truly knew her. Her mind played out multiple situations, trying to find the best method. Perhaps the fall would kill her. No, even if it did, that wasn't the way she wanted to do this. With force, she placed the tip of the knife to her chest. She thought she knew of an easier way with the blade. On the streets of Renmore, she had seen people take their veins, but the passenger wouldn't let her off so easily. It spoke to her in the folds of silence, telling her it was all okay. All will be fine, it said. Just a few metal injections and all this pain can go away. It was a difficult thing to drive a blade held by your own hand into yourself. Most people would have a hard time doing it to another, but she had been close so many times before. She knew just how to do it. With the knife in her hand, she began lightly tapping the tip into the ground, puncturing the soil as her mind pretended it were her skin. Not really trying to edit this right now, but I'll do some small things. Puncturing the soil as her mind pretended it were her skin. As she thought about everything she hated, the pressure and speed began to pick up. What once was sloppy and careless now had intent, but in this whirl of hate her mind began to slip. It began to think of all the things she would miss from this world once she was gone. Her eyes locked onto the lake with the sun setting behind the trees as she paused for a moment. Life could be so beautiful. For some. That was the last thought that entered her brain before a jolt of heated resentment for all things under the moon caused her hand to reel back with speed, followed by forcing the unforgiving blade into her leg when she thought of none. Not a single thing here for me, she yelled as she rapidly punctured her leg once more, her voice gaining a beastly tone as she gathered enough anger for one big strike. I'm not meant to be here. Again, the blade took her leg. 3 strikes was enough for 1 millisecond of bravery. Again, the blade took her leg. 3 strikes was enough for 1 millisecond of bravery. 1 millisecond where the point moved to her chest. 1 solid punch of the long blade and she could do nothing but mutter, "Not meant to be." Her words began to fade out as her breath released. She wanted to continue. 4 wasn't enough. Would she die? Even if she would, was 4 enough to convince her that she was still strong? As she folded over, her head hit the ground, her eyes staring up at the stars in the sky, out earlier than normal. The knife caused her to twitch, and she started to lose consciousness, but most of her pain came from a feeling much worse, the feeling of being truly unwanted, the feeling of being forgotten. No one will remember a nameless kid, one of 0 worth. I might have to change that, because she technically has a name now. So originally she gained the name in this part, but we now know that she chose the name Grail in the last part because she wrote it in the little note to Vic. Anyways, no one will remember a nameless kid, one of 0 worth. The thoughts began to anger her, waking up the passenger below. "You are weak," it whispered in her head, barely above the sound of her heartbeat. Then nothing. She stopped rolling and squirming as the voice within repeated that word time and time again. So much that she really started second-guessing if her decision had overruled her strength. She thought about her sister and how she told her about their mother and father abandoning them, just for her to turn around and do the same. "Should have been you," she groaned. Everything went still as her golden yellow eyes shut. She thought about Vic and what he had said to her that night months ago when she cauterized her wound. When she cauterized her lip? Either one works. She thought about Vic and what he had said to her that night months ago when she cauterized her lip, him describing a word unfamiliar to her, Grail. His definition still rang through her head. It's like, the best you can get? There was a shipment heading into Wayside tonight that was quite important. Me and my gangdom were planning to go out and take it, but something told me to stay here. To help you? The visage of him in her head flickered. I believe you to be much more rare than whatever was taken off that ship. With all these thoughts trampling her brain, she couldn't even hear the sound of heavy approaching footsteps until they were right on top of her. She hoped whoever it was would not find her. All was well. This was fated so. The steps seemed to be off pace and not that of a human, something with 4 legs. Eventually, she turned her head with all her energy to see the grizzly bear approaching with caution. It must have been curious about the yelling or picked up her scent. With a nose wet from the lake, it pressed close to her face, sniffing around her to determine if she was safe. A mix of her natural scent and the scent of blood had caught its attention, and now a tear rolling down the nameless one's cheek as the bear inspected her. "At least you noticed." She spoke as the bear nudged her with the bridge of its nose, lightly panting at the sight of her dying. "It's for the best," she muttered with her hand outstretched, but for the first time she glanced down at her leg to see those 3 stab wounds she inflicted upon herself, her brain now running the thought of survival through her head subconsciously. Her brain now running the thought of survival through her head subconsciously. "No," she replied. Her mind became racked with sorrow and exhaustion. This was her one time to sleep. "Just let me be," she huffed, attempting to roll over before the bear stepped closer. She just wanted to rest, but the wicked one inside her had one last insult to give. "Even the bear knows you're weak." Her eyes shot open, looking as full as the moon as energy coursed through her veins. "I'm not weak," she yelled, sitting up so fast the bear jumped a few steps back, blowing anger out its nose to match the human's assertiveness. But even the bear noticed how odd things were. The way her body moved like that of a revenant. She was like a lifeless object alive. The bear didn't understand a thing, certainly not as she took off the cloth covering her top, leaving only the strophium tied around her chest. With a tight pain, she wrapped the shirt around her stab wound surrounding the knee. Then, gripping the knife in her body with one hand, she searched the ground for sticks. "Man really needs to learn the wound loops next time," she thought, thinking about the pain that was about to come. Without true understanding, the bear pressed its nose to the ground and began to sniff around, wondering what she could be searching for, wondering what she could possibly be searching for. Wondering what she could possibly be searching for. It felt helpless, but it couldn't stand to see another cub bleed out. After minutes of aimlessly searching for a magical cure, the bear's eyes shot up at the crackling of heat and the light of fire. This young cub was resourceful. She created heat from sticks, all while dying, something that the bear found incomprehensible. It watched as this wounded animal blew into the small fire, creating larger flame before her eyes contemplated timing. "Fuck it, man's done worse." She pulled the knife out slowly enough not to damage anything more than it already had and stuck it into the flame, boiling blood from the metal. With her wound held shut with her palm, she rested her head on the ground until the long blade's tip was red hot, nearly passing out in the process. Another burst of energy from the mad one below would almost be nice right about now, she thought as she took the blade in her hand. It was interesting, the thoughts that went through her mind as she pressed the burning metal to her chest and sealed the wound. In this moment, she finally realized something about herself, something that opened up a whole new curiosity of hers. It remained the last thing on her mind as all conscious thought faded and the knife rolled out of her hand. The now lonely bear watched as her head smacked the ground, caking more dirt into her hair and onto her face. It had seen this look once before, and this time was followed by the same painful growls and huffs as the bear stomped around the land near her, looking every which way for something to help. It did this for some time, but the only thing that came was the night, slowly lulling the bear to sleep with a mind of sadness and loss. I might want to add, again. Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. In the morning, the distant sunrise brought warmth and life to this near grave site. Is that not right? Graveside? In the morning, the distant sunrise brought warmth and life to this near gravesite as our young cub finally came to, with pain all around her. She wasn't sure whether to be relieved or heartbroken that she lived, yet seeing the bear laying a few meters away with its nose pressed to the ground brought her comfort. It had stayed with her through what she thought would be the end. Now, with a sad look across its face, she spoke out, letting the animal know she yet drew breath. "It's okay," the wounded girl groaned. "Man just had to sort something out. You get me?" That's basically what I got for that part. It's mostly done. I might add to it. But yeah, like I said, I usually name the parts based on, my favorite lines in them. Usually, roughly, or, the most important part. And, the Revenant line goes so fucking hard, bro. Where the bear is, this part, this is, one of my favorite ones. Where she's, because this is dirty, too. She's literally, dying, and she's just just let me be, man. I just want to rest. I'm done with this shit. I'm done. And the wicked one, the person beneath her, her inner voice, it was already trying to it was already trying to spark her anger, you know? It was calling her weak up here. It was you're weak. You're weak. And she's I don't fucking care anymore, man. I'm done. I'm done with this shit. And then like the last thing is like even the bear knows you're weak, and she's like motherfucker, man. Like she's really angry about that shit. So like that gets her up. It's like, but well, and that's maybe what she quote unquote realizes about herself later. Is a reference to this. But anyways, this whole like line here is just nice. Like the "I'm not weak," she yelled, sitting up so fast the bear jumped back a few steps, blowing anger out its nose to match the human's assertiveness. But even the bear noticed how odd things were. The way her body moved like that of a revenant. She was like like a lifeless object alive. The bear didn't understand a thing. Yeah, like that goes hard. Like her body moved like that of a revenant. She was like a lifeless object alive. Yeah, that shit goes hard. I think gravesite is one word. That's what I think too. That's why I wrote it that way, but then it fucking told me not to. I'm pretty sure it is too. That's how I had it. To be fair, like, the only problem with this program is it doesn't know like a lot of words. I'll just learn it, because I'm pretty sure it's one word too. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, this part goes hard. This part goes hard. And I mean, like the ending, I might add a few lines here, but honestly, I kind of like the ending because it shows how like nonchalant Grail is about the shit that happens. Like it's how serious the shit was, and it literally ends with her just being like, "Man, just had to sort something out." You get me? Like literally simple as fuck. Just kind of like it's all good. Like I just had to sort some shit out, which is like nearly dying basically, and still fucked up. But yeah, this is where she meets the bear. Well, I mean, she's already seen the bear, obviously, as like the line up here said. Like she's seen the bear for years, but this is the first time she's been close to the bear. But I also really like that, you know, like the line at the beginning where it's like, you know, she's saying like, "I guess I won't see you again then," and then like, you know, the voice in her head's like, "Don't worry, it never noticed you." But then at the end, when the bear comes to check on her, or well, you know, it hears her scream, you know. Then she's kind of like, well, at least you noticed. So it's like going back on that, like the bad voice in the head in her head. Wait, does she call it a bear? No, she doesn't call it a bear. It's just. Oh, I guess she does. I guess she does. The inner voice calls it the bear. You're right. I need to change that. Good looking out. She doesn't ever call it a bear, but the inner voice does say bear. It shouldn't say bear. I can't say the dog though, bro. It's gonna break how serious this is. I'll have to say like even she knows you're weak. Damn, what am I gonna say? Because for those of you that don't know, Grail doesn't know what a bear is, so she refers to bears, like she refers to the bear as a big dog. That's literally what she calls it. She's like, "Oh, I gotta go see the big dog," but she doesn't know what a bear is. Say the animal. That's the other thing I can, but like then it like even the creature knows you're weak. I don't know. They all sound weird. I don't think she'd call it any of those. Creature, the animal, even. I think it would. I mean, I know it takes away from the line, but I feel like it would just say like even it knows you're weak. But even that sounds weird too. Even the animal knows you're weak. Or say it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Even the animal knows you're weak. I don't think it would say that. Even it knows you're weak. That doesn't sound good enough. Definitely the bear sounds good. Even the bear knows you're weak. Even the beast knows you're weak. Even that thing knows you're weak. Could be that. Damn it. I didn't even think about that. That it calls it a bear. Even that thing knows you're weak. Yeah, it's all like that's all right. Maybe I think it should be thinks instead of knows. Maybe as well, like even. And it could be wildlife. Even the wildlife thinks you're weak. That doesn't really sound as good either, though.
Even they know you're weak. Even they know you're weak. I think that's the best out of our options. Even the animal thinks you're weak. I think that's the best of the options we have. I mean, or I can just say even the dog thinks you're weak. Maybe make somebody laugh, but I mean, at the same time, I don't want it to take away how serious this is. Even the big dog thinks you're weak. Pretty funny. Like, this part's very serious. Like, this is probably the most serious part. I mean, she literally is, like, trying to end her life. Pretty serious shit. Also, like, I brushed over, like, I didn't talk about, like, the lines, you know, as I was reading it too much. But, like, there's a lot of good lines in here. Like, I like this one where she's thinking of her sister and she's thinking, like, should have been you. This is, like, after, I think this is... Yeah, this is after she stabs herself. She's saying, should have been you. Like, that's a pretty heavy thing to say about your sister. But it's kind of true for her feelings. And then also, I like this line. Like, the wicked voice in her head. All will be fine, it said. Just a few metal injections and all the pain can go away. It's pretty crazy. And then the other one, this part, like, where it's like, she's thinking of all the things she'll miss. Like, life could be so beautiful. For some, like that's the last thought that enters her brain before she does it, because it's like it's not beautiful for me though. Yeah, I don't think a funny moment's good either. It definitely wouldn't be meant to be funny. It's just like that is literally what she calls it though. Like she actually like she doesn't call it that to be funny. She like she seriously is like, yeah, it's a big dog. Like that is literally what it is. Like she looks at it, she's like, it's a dog. It's just big. Just big dog, like wild dog. Injections make me think of needles. Yeah. I think I use like a lot of different words, but I think it sounds good for this. A few metal injections and the pain can go away. Wait, I don't think I read to you. You don't know about the Rust Free one. Rust Free has a good funny moment. It's funny, but it's not funny. Damn, look at all the red lines because of their how the way they talk. Yeah, Revenant goes pretty hard. You gotta head to bed. Alright, sounds good. Good night, Mary. Thanks for chilling with us. We appreciate it. Thank you. When do you think you'll share more? I don't know. I've been doing it kind of consistently, actually. Like, the past few nights I've been doing it. I like talking about my writing, to be honest. Especially when I'm not feeling that well, because, I don't know, I wrote all this stuff when I'm not feeling that well. So... And it doesn't really make me feel better, but it's almost like ranting in a way, I guess. I mean, it depends on which part it is, you know? Like, basically, each part has, like, a different feeling that I've felt, kinda. Sort of. Sort of and sort of not. I don't know. It has, like, little parts in them. So... I don't know. It's nice to read them. I actually want to read the Nelly one. I have the first part of Nelly's short story. I kind of want to read that to someone. I don't know if I have. I don't think I have. I think I like it. I think I like it. I can't remember. I don't know. I haven't read it in a while. I need to go read it. Let me see how many words it is. But yeah, I want to read the Nelly one to someone too. Because the first part one is called "Past the Thorns and Into the Roses." If I don't change it, or it's called like "Through the Thorns," one or the other. I don't know if I can see the word count here. Oh, I can't. I'd love to hear her part. Yeah, I'll have to tell you it. I'll have to read that one to you. I think her part is weird though. I'm reading it right now. I'm not sure if I will keep it or not because it looks like I wrote it in first person, which is strange. I don't think I want it to be in first person. Like I think I want it to be like Grails, but I don't know. I think I wrote it. Or send me a message. Okay, I'll send you. I'll try to remember to send you a message when whenever I'm reading my writing next, so that way you can join if you're not busy. Wait, there's zero chance it's Wednesday already. Where did my other day off go? I didn't have 3 days off. Promise, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. What do I do now? Time flies, yeah. You know, I actually have another short story. I don't know if it's good though. Dude, I'm reading some of my own writing and it just makes me laugh. Dude, these lines are great, bro. Damn, I'm good at writing, bro. I'm reading some shit. It's good. It's good shit. Dude, these lines are good, man. Sorry, I'm being quiet, but I'm just reading some shit. Yeah, I got some good shit coming up for this short story too. Damn. Damn. Funny, I'm really good at writing, bro. I think you're the only one here, but I'm pretty damn good at this shit. I got another short story on the way, and it's super good, dude. I'm writing 3. I mean, I've talked about it. I'm writing 3. I just don't know Nellie's. I don't know the name of Nellie's. The third one is meant to be called A Long Way from Zion. That's meant to be what it's called. I think that's what I'm gonna keep. But it's good. This one has a lot of flirty shit in it. That's why I was laughing. I was reading the, like, it's a couple. It's a couple. So it's a different vibe, you know? Like, Grail's is like all alone, you know? All alone, sad, angry, all that good shit. Nellie's is like, I guess in between. It's like cute, fun. There's some seriousness to it, obviously. But like, yeah. Little fun story, maybe. This one's also pretty fucked up and sad, but it's like the main 2 characters are a couple. They're a pretty great couple. They're just hilarious. I find them funny anyways. I don't know. I've never shared like my writing like that though. It's kind of weird. I don't know how people will see it. But they have like a lot of like funny kind of like competition. They're both very competitive, so they almost like compete against each other. They don't like to lose, really. But I like was reading like a bunch of really good lines actually. Does sound funny. Yeah, I was just reading like, let me see if I can read any of them to you, but I mean, let me see. I don't know. I think none of it's done, so I don't really want to read any of it. But I don't think any of it's like good enough to read. But it's just funny. I mean, I just like this line. Like, this is like not like a line said by anybody, but I like this where it's like,
Like, as she stepped with grace, Vendra waited for his gaze to address the most important thing in the room, her. I like that. Like that. That's pretty good. Like that's her vibe. It's just like she's very I mean, she's pretty confident. Like she's very confident when it comes to like him. Not necessarily. I mean, she's pretty confident anyways, but like more so when it comes to him. Like very like gives him a hard time about shit and is always just like royalty kind of shit. Like she acts like royalty. It's pretty good. Um, let's see. Yeah, so like I wrote. Well, actually, I can read this. It's not much, but it's like basically. So I wrote this. Like obviously, it's not done, but as she stepped with grace, Vendra waited for his gaze to address the most important thing in the room, her. Once he did, she could see the way his interest in reading began to fade. It was amusing, especially as he raised the book once more, pretending everything was normal. Dear, she smiled, placing a hand on top of the book and gently lifting it out of his hands. Don't lose my place, he added, his eyes never leaving hers as the book was set aside. Like I like that. Like it's just like she's like intentionally like excuse you, like we've got more, like we have press, there's more pressing concerns, like I'm here now, you're not reading anymore, and he's just like god damn it. But like also like he obviously wants to just talk to her, like he's just kind of fucking around, but like shit like that, like dumb shit like that, but it's fun. It's just like stupid shit. It's just causing me to laugh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny. There's some good moments, like, and she's just like bossy, but in a fun way. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Like, I think right after that, I have like, let me see, where was it? Because I just wrote them some dumb lines or just like dumb back and forth lines. Because there's gonna be like a bunch of like, so they're actually, they're technically, they're not free. They're not free people. They're like, they're gladiators. They're like enslaved basically. But they're both really talented, so they have like the, you know, like good gladiators got treated pretty well. Like they got treated like, you know, they're like sports stars, like essentially, right? So like even though they're both like technically slaves, they get treated like pretty well. And like one of their benefits, because they're like as good as they are, is that like they get to sleep in the same cell as each other, which is like every other person. It's like you get whoever you get. You don't get to choose. Like you damn sure don't get to be with someone you want to be with. It's just like, ah, fuck you, man. I don't give a fuck. Go to sleep. But like they get to like actually be in the same room, and it's like a not a. It's still a cell, but it's like slightly bigger. History of gladiators is very interesting. Yeah, it is. I really like the gladiatorial shit. I'm awake. Finally. Welcome, man. I'm just talking about some of my writing. Yeah, the gladiator stuff is really good. No, I just really like how like she's just always on him about shit, and it's funny. Like they, but they kind of do it to each other. It's pretty good. I'm trying to see if I have any other lines. I mean, I have like simple ones where he's like he'll be like, I'm a little bit nervous, and she's like, good, I like that, like shit like that, like just little lines. But I really like those lines, like just giving each other like a really shit time all the time. Um, what else? Let me see what else there is in here. Let me see.
Let's see. Did you know that most of the time Gladiator weren't enslaved? They were like sports stars. So yeah, that's what I was saying. Also, did you know it's speculated that Gladiator weren't meant to kill each other? Um, I don't know what you mean, but like most of the time they didn't kill each other. I don't know if that's what you mean. I mean, they were like quote unquote meant to. Well, they were not meant to. I don't. That's not a speculation. They're not really meant to. I mean, they are and they aren't. It's obviously like they're meant to best each other, and then if they decide to, like, if the editor decides for you to kill him, then you do. So you would go in with the you'd go in with the idea of like, I might have to kill this guy. But yeah, like a lot of times they didn't want them to die because it's like, I mean, a gladiator, it takes a long time to train them. You don't want them to die. Dude, these lines are fucking funny, bro, but there's no way I'm putting that out, bro. I mean, it's like a bit risky kind of lines, but they're pretty good though. They're funny though. I mean, I guess fuck it, I could put them out. Like it doesn't matter, but they're pretty good. They are pretty good though. But it builds on Vendra's character. Vendra's like really flirty, to be honest, which I think is quite fun. This is such a good line for Vendra, bro. Oh my god, this is such a good line. So there's this moment where there's a bit like, well, it's not spoilery, but so there's this girl. Fuck it, I'm just gonna say his name because you guys are gonna find out anyways. So like, I don't know if you guys know, but there's a character based on me, right? Like, there's two characters based on me. There's Grail, which is based on me, like my anger specifically. There's another character that's based on me, like all around just me, not just my anger. Because Grail is like mostly based on my anger. There's another character who's based on me, and his name's Belial. So his name's Belial Dur-Alganloza. So, but anyways, that's one of these characters, right? And then Vendra is like his lover, and they're both gladiators. Well, anyways, so there's this moment where, so basically, like Belial in the story, he's well, all my nicknames are like his nicknames, right? Well, actually, some of them were, so like Dur-Alganloza is a thing from the story that I just like I use sometimes, but it's like it actually was made for the story. It means the eyeless. That's what it means. Anyways, but or it means like the blind. It more means like the eyeless, the one without eyes. That's what it means, like literally. But it's not necessarily literal. Anyways, long story. You guys will see. You guys will see. Anyways, though, so to set the scene, there's this. So he has like a reputation in the Ludus that they're from, like the gladiator school. He has like a reputation of being very harsh. Like, people either like really like him or really hate him, and a lot of people don't like him. Like, a lot of people don't like him because he's really harsh and he's kind of rude. That's how people see him. It's like, oh, that guy's rude. Like, he's an asshole. But he also has a reputation of like defending people that don't defend themselves, or specifically some, like, let's say some of the gladiators will like mistreat, like, you know, some of the slave women, and like he has like a reputation of like not fucking around with that shit and like dealing with some of that shit, or like, you know, bringing that up to them, I guess, is a good way of putting it in a nice way. So I wrote this scene where one of the girls actually like comes to him and she's really nervous, but she's like she runs into Vendra, and she's like, well, she like knocks, like she goes up to their cell, and Vendra answers the door, and she's like, what? And like she's like, can I speak with, like, I want to speak with him. Can I speak with him? And Vendra's like, yeah, sure, like just make it fast, you know, like please get out of here. We don't want to deal with you, kind of thing. And the girl basically asks for like Belial's help, essentially, right? She's basically like, hey, this guy's doing this, and I've been told like to talk to you about it because you would maybe deal with it. And he's like, sure. Well, he just listens to her. He doesn't even like really reply. He's just like listening to her, reading, and like the girl's kind of confused, like if he's even gonna do anything. It seems like he's not interested, whatever. Anyways, long story short, he ends up helping her in a way that the like master of the house does not like. So the master of the house ends up throwing the girl in their cell to be like, yeah, well, fuck you. If you care so much about her, you can take care of her then.
she'll just be in your way, and obviously Vendra doesn't like that because Vendra wants her like alone time with like her lover, of course. So she's like, God damn it, like this is some bullshit. Like she's like, oh, of course we had to help her, you know, like now we don't have any privacy at all. Like this is cool. And so like the girl comes in there and she's like a bit younger as well. So Vendra's just annoyed. She's like, "Oh, this is so annoying." And the girl's like, "No, I don't want to like be in your way. Like just pretend I'm not here. Like you guys can do whatever you want. Like I'm just gonna mind my own business. I won't even talk." Like she's basically doing that, you know. And and he tries to give her covers. Like he's like giving her stuff so she's not laying on the stone floor, right? So he's like, "Here, you can have this. You have this pillow, I guess, like the only one. You can just like you be like comfortable, kind of thing." Because she wasn't willing to like sleep like in the bed and him sleep on the floor, which is what he offered. And so like she's like sleeping on the floor with like all her shit. And but anyways, I wrote this line. This is such a good line for Vendra, bro. So the girl that's there, she's like, she says, "No, please, it's okay. I won't disturb you." And Vendra replies by saying, "Your presence already does." Or well, it's like, "Your presence already does." Vendra replied, "Oh, that sounded bitchy. I mean, you being here already affects things. Like, don't make it worse by suffering." That's such a good line for her. Like, she's immediately like, "Ah, your presence already does. Like, it already bothers me. It already sucks." And then she's immediately like, "Oh, wait, that sounded a little bitchy. I mean, you know, you just already affect things. Like, don't make it worse by suffering." But yeah, that's a really good line. I like that a lot for her. I really like that line. That's a good one. Yeah, these lines are really good. I'm just reading through them now. I like this too. Like Vendra sharing too much, or not sharing too much, but she's like taunting like a lot, like giving him a lot of shit. And he's like, "Dear," he finally spoke up. "What did we say about guests?" And she's like, "Right, Jira, darling. Belial needs nothing from you." Like, that's good. Ooh, that's a good line. He has quite the intuition when it comes to discerning lies from truth. Sometimes the truth can be revealed in between the folds of evidence. Because they're talking about that's a good line. I don't, dude. I'm in different bags when I write. You know. Yeah, these are good lines, dude. I like these a lot. I mean, they're just a cool couple. They're a really cool couple. The thing I like about them so much is like when they practice, he's like, so the way I'm gonna start the story is I'm gonna show like a scene of them practicing, and then it's gonna like transition into them going to like their cell together. And the difference, like, so the way it's gonna start, it's gonna make him seem like a bad guy. Like it's gonna make him seem like he's training her like to duel, like they're dueling with practice blades, and he's like pretty relentless about it. And like the second she like falls, he's like basically like you're fucking horrible, like get the fuck back up, kind of shit. Like really angry about it. But the second they like get to their room, it's just like, how are you feeling, dear? Like that's like the vibe. Instant shift to like, how are you feeling, dear? Are you all right? How was today? Like all that kind of shit. It's like very nice. And like it's just but it should catch like the audience off guard because the whole first half is going to make him seem like an absolute fucking piece of shit. But then immediately they're both just like they're very loving because like they both can put aside the fact that it's like to be the best you have to be pushed to be the best. Like you have to there has to be a harshness to like training. You can't just like let people off. Like he can't be nice to her. That'll make her, you know, more susceptible to dying. And like obviously he doesn't want that. I can read you guys the introduction I wrote for their characters, but I don't think there's much flirting in that. I think the flirting came more after, I believe, if I recall. I think the flirting came after. I don't think they were very flirty back then when I wrote that, because I wrote that like 2 years ago. It's probably not that good. It's probably not that good. I could write it. I could read it still though. Because I haven't talked about them at all. I've mainly only talked about Grail, a little bit of Nelly, but I'm reading it now to see if I want to read it. Damn, that goes hard. Dude, this goes hard. Alright, I'm about to read this. You guys want to hear this shit? I think it goes kind of hard, actually. I'm reading it. Well, I'm reading a couple lines and it goes kind of hard. That doesn't mean the whole thing goes hard, but it kind of. It's so far it goes hard. I just read like a few lines in the middle, and I like it a lot. Definitely read it. Alright. I have to change something though. Let me edit it real quick. Ah, fuck. No, I won't edit it, but like. I'm gonna have to edit it. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to read it differently. There's a couple things I don't want to say. For a couple of reasons. Because I wrote this a long time ago, and some of it is slightly spoilery now. So. I haven't read this in a long time, so I don't know how it's gonna sound, but here we go. It's called Dancing with Death. That's what I titled it. It's the introduction to Der Augenlose and Die Klingen Tanzerin, which are them. Uh, the roar of the crowd burst out like thunder, random and quick. It was impossible to guess when it would hit, but every time it did, chills would follow, especially in knowing they roared for blood and pain. Another burst rang out so loud it felt like the walls were shaking. With that, the thought of another one of our kind has fallen for sport became more and more likely. Running her hands across the sand underneath her, Vendra looked up at the stone ceiling of her cell. It was an unforgiving home. She waited for the next outburst from the crowd, but there was none. Pure silence. So it was time. She looked over at the small bowl of water. I can already realize that this writing is not as good as my new writing, but anyways, I'll just have to deal with it. It's not that bad. You guys probably won't notice much of a difference, but it's bad. It's kind of bad. Anyways, she looked over at the small bowl of water she had requested last night and pulled it close. Dipping her palms into the bowl, she lifted her now soaked hands and slicked back her short black hair. She passed over it a few times, wetting it down completely until satisfied, the sharp tips barely resting above her shoulders. If you were to look at her, you would see powerful brown eyes, but to her, they seemed to lose color every day. Her eyes were bleak, just like every other gladiator and gladiatrix here, eyes that hid a lifetime of pain and misfortune, a life of slaughtering to survive. It sounds bad enough. Occasionally it bothered Vendra, but every day it bothered her less and less. The blood and slaughter. Sometimes it even seemed like the only thing she had enjoyed, but this time something else was on her mind. She thought long and hard about what it may be that was bothering her so much, but she had no luck. Oh, this might not be canon anymore, by the way, but it's relatively canon, but like maybe 10% of this is going to be off. I'll describe after. Not knowing what was causing her trouble, she sifted through her thoughts to find the culprit. Everything had been fine for weeks. Why would she begin to feel sick now? She knew it wasn't the lack of food they gave her and the rest of the slaves here. That had been going on for years, and she was far too used to it by now. She couldn't imagine it was the nerves or the thought of blood. Even if she tried to recall how many people she had seen fall to the blade in a blood-soaked display, she could not. She had seen far too much violence for it to bother her now. In fact, the more she put her mind to it, it was somewhat peaceful. No more worry, no more lashes, nothing. Just a gentle fade to black. Searching for the root of her feelings, it finally clicked. She had practiced with the best daimagiri this world had to offer for a few months now, prepping for this. It was like she was afraid to die. It wasn't like she was afraid to die in the arena. It was more like she didn't want to disappoint her teacher. What if I lose the most important match of my life and all his teachings go to waste, she thought. The idea made her sick. Not only was this match important because she faced Anna Nexus, one of the greatest Hoplamaki the arena had ever seen, but also because this was the first time a woman had ever fought against a man in the arena. For many years, enslaved men were forced to fight each other, and it was the same for women. That all changed a few months back when Vendra finished her path of defeating every gladiatrix of worth. Not only did she best them, but she did so without even a scratch. Vendra raised her record to 16 victories with 0 losses. Even Akela, champion of the Amethyst Coast, did not come close to besting Vendra. Most battles between such skilled fighters did not end in death, though. The crowd wanted Akela to have her revenge. Again she felt to Vendra just as easy. There was no answer for her skill or her speed. After her second win against Akela, Vendra declared that she wanted a real challenge. She wanted to face Anna Nexus. She wanted to prove a point. That she was the second best fighter to ever step foot on the sand, right behind her teacher, Der Augenlose. And that the female fighters were not just some form of lesser talent as so many people seemed to think. The thought of failing bounced around in her head for far too long just before the silence of the room I don't like the way these are written. The thought of failing bounced around in her head for far too long, and just before the silence of the room devoured her, she heard a large metal door scrape across the ground. Behind it stood a man around her height with long black hair and a heavy scar that went through one side of his face. A nasty cut from an unforgiving blade that took half his sight. The one eye that was still good was a colorful, cool blue, and he had a trimmed black beard that was connected to his hair along the jaw. As soon as Vendra spotted him, her posture straightened. A feeling of wickedness swept in alongside him. It adorned him like a fragrance bursting into the room. She could feel it deep in her chest. Her heart skipped a beat at the sight of him. He looked at her for a moment, taking in the situation before kneeling to where she sat and placing a hand on her shoulder. I thought I would have to wait another night to see the wicked one, she smiled and opened her arms for a brief hug before he pulled her to her feet to sit. Or wait, what the fuck did I write here? I thought I would have to wait another night to see the wicked one, she smiled and opened her arms for a brief hug. Period. There should be a period there. Oh, I guess, wait, before she, oh, I see what I wrote. Hang on. She smiled and opened her arms for a brief hug before pulling her feet back to sit more comfortably against the cold wall. Okay, so she's not getting up. She's just moving this. I remember this somehow. Probably I read it to you a long time ago, because me and you met a long, long time ago. And I did read my writing to a lot of people that I met, so I probably read it to you a long time ago. Let's see. Yeah, so she pulled her feet back to the stone wall. I thought they didn't want you to come speak with me before my matches anymore. She pushed the bowl aside. I talked them into it. He sat next to her with both their backs to the stone wall of the arena entrance. Being the best has its benefits, but we aren't here to talk about me, so tell me, which thoughts take hold of your mind? Only the task ahead, she responded. Today I earned my place among your kind. No nerves, no fear, just like you taught me. Her answer was sharp as an arrow, almost like she practiced it. He let her answer linger in the air for a moment. Our kind. He looked at her with confidence. I know you will prove it so. As I told you last night, the only thing able to best your blades is in here, he pointed to her heart, and possibly up here if you let your ego run rampant. He nudged her, causing her to release a quick smile. Yet if I recall, you are the one with the ego, she looked back. It was well earned, though, was it not? Slowly she moved her head up and down. Well earned, but now I shall claim mine. Together they sat with an odd feeling of comfort. Even though she was preparing for a fight that would possibly end in death, he looked at her with a certain stare. He couldn't be more certain that she would return, or he couldn't be more sure that he would see her again tonight. They sat there in an almost overbearing silence when all of a sudden Vendra burst out into quiet laughter that echoed the chamber. I was just thinking of Under, you remember? At least if I am to die, I'll not go out like that. Hard to forget that one. He held back from laughing. Release it from your mind, though. I want nothing remotely related to losing in there. With that, the man stood and offered a hand to Vendra. Their grip tightened before he pulled her up to her feet. Danke. She continued to hold his hand a bit longer than necessary. I find it funny that everyone speaks of you out of fear. Fuck me, I can't read. I find it funny that when everyone speaks of you, they do so out of fear. Belial der Augenlose. I don't know. You're the best of us, and I don't just mean your talent. She paused. Besides, I think your name has a nice ring to it. Figured I'd say so before, 'cause you never know. The people are not wrong for fearing me, though. I have tried to do a bit of good, but that doesn't make up for the countless things that I did that made me into this. He looked around for her equipment in the dark entryway. And quit talking like you'll lose. He lowered his tone. Yes, of course. I only lighten the mood. I know. But instead, I want you to recall everything that has brought you to this point. That's how you'll ensure defeat will not be the way your story ends. She thought as he helped fasten the light armor that covered her arms, meant to help if a blade grazed her, but offered little resistance to a heavy swing. She stared at him long and hard until he switched to She stared at him long and then switched to looking at her arms. The branding mark burnt into her pale skin stood out strong against the light armor as the light armor went over. I don't like how I wrote this shit, but it's good plot. It's just written a bit weird. Not a single scar adorned her body besides that burn. No sword or knife had found its way to her, certainly not in battle. Eventually, he began with the other arm. Then she finally broke the silence. I remember the late nights, she spoke. I remember the cold wind and freezing nothingness. Her eyes stared blankly as if magnetized to the arena gate. Every breath was like a deep calming before a devastating storm. I remember Das Endless Weiss, my home. I remember hunting, starving. We went days without food. I remember giving what little I found to others. I remember seeing them, frozen and forgotten, being taken against my will as I searched for bodies to say, being taken against my will as I searched for bodies to say a final goodbye. But now you've shown me that all of this prepared me for greatness, for this right here. Her gaze met with his for a moment. A long, drawn-out silence clouded the room as he had finished preparing her arms. With a last glance at him, she turned around and moved her hair out of the way as he helped her with what little armor she wore over the body. Many times had they been through this, but this was the defining moment, a moment to become something more, or a moment to lose all they had worked for. What more do you remember? He asked as she turned back to him and took both of his hands in hers. I remember before we met, my first time seeing you in the arena. You were meant to be executed by Aravix, thrown in just to die. The roar of the crowd was already deafening from the excitement before, and even more so when his blade caught you up high. I thought you were dead for sure. She took a moment to look at the long scar that took over his face. She looked sorry for him, her teacher and her only friend, her best friend. Many times she thought about this. He was far too good to have belonged here. And of course, who would forget the gasps and winces when you stood back up, barely discernible from the blood that covered your face? That is your curse. You still stood ready to continue the fight despite your new lack of sight. She held her hand right above his scar, making sure not to touch. A true gladiator. How was I so lucky to have been taught by you? She continued. I remember you fought hard until you outmaneuvered him and gained the upper hand for but a second. That's all it took to thrust the mains straight through him. The look on his face. She stopped. I wish I could have seen it, he smiled, releasing all tension in the room and causing her to smile in return. Well, then you would not have this trophy, dear. She finally dropped her hand from the scar going through his right eye. Then you would not be Belial der Augenlose. She leaned in, and for the first time ever, kissed him. Someone she had loved for some time now, but never had the time to show it. There was never any time here. It was wake up, die, repeat. Sometimes you got to eat. Damn, that line's gold. It was wake up, die, repeat, and sometimes you got to eat. Sometimes you got sleep, but the only thing you knew you would feel every day was pain. Sorry if that counts as a distraction and I have gone against your teachings, but I think it will give me one more reason to return. The promise of your touch once again. Just promise me you will settle for a swift victory over any painful marks or mistakes such as mine. I promise, she answered quickly with a smirk. No scars, no mistakes. But now you must promise me something. And just like you, I'm telling, not asking. Okay. Then give instruction. He got close and awaited her words. Tonight, when I return, I want to talk about something else. I don't want to speak of what I did right and wrong. I don't want to speak of the fight. That can wait for tomorrow. I would much rather just enjoy our time together. So as I said, I'm making you. I'm not asking. She leaned in and held on to him. Have I made myself clear? Yes, you have made yourself perfectly clear. No talking of swords, techniques, or anything of the like. I can't promise I won't talk about you, though, he smiled. Fair. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to me, so we should have plenty to discuss. Together they shared one last look and stood in front of the gate, peering out to the arena. He handed her blades over gently. Very few things in this world were more beautiful than Dimane's. The sickly, leaf-shaped blade was a killer both in looks and use. The blade was wide enough that any stab wound was sure to become fatal. I know life for us has not been easy, but I am proud of you. Now give me one last reason you'll return. One last memory, something long forgotten. This time it took her a minute before she let her words loose. Her mind was now filled with a small bit of excitement to see him later. And she had not felt anything related to happiness in such a long time. It was good, but it had to wait. That's a weird line. I think that's in the wrong place. That kind of feels weird. Anyways. I remember back when I was a little girl, I wanted so much to be a dancer. Her gaze lowered to the chipped edges of Dimane's. Oh, how far we have fallen from the world we once knew. Well, Belial interjected, much like a dancer, you must go out in front of a crowd and perform the routine we practiced. If done right, all will go as planned and they will cheer your name. The only difference is that your dance partners are demains. Every bit of blood spilt has led us here. You must remember. Vendra turned and looked Belial directly in the face before she continued. Before he continued. I did write that right, it just sounded weird. Vendra turned and looked Belial directly in the face before he continued. Today you entered the arena as Vendra, but tonight onward, you shall be known as Vendra de Klingentanzeren. I look forward to your return. I actually had a dream I wish to tell you of. Now, may I place on your hairband? May I place your hairband on? That's written weird too. May I put on your hairband? I feel like you would say that. I don't know. I don't know why I wrote that weird. But anyways, I actually had a dream I wish to tell you of. Now, may I put on your hairband? She nodded as he gently pressed her thin black hair back the way she liked it before carefully placing on her signature black hairband over it to hold it down and keep it out of her way. Tonight, we will eat and drink as we please, for I remember every second, Vendra added on. She stepped up to the blood-stained gate and let her swords fall to either side of her body. With a heavy breath, she cleansed any remaining doubt. All she could think of were the repeating words of her teacher in her head over and over. It was now time for her to dance with death and face on a nexus. Boom, done. Boom, done. Pretty good. Pretty good. I do like it. I think it would be good if I rewrote it. I think I could probably put it into the short story. I don't know, like, I don't feel sad right now. But I'm like, I got like a bit of a tear going, and I don't know what caused it. I don't feel sad at all, but maybe it was just like not related to feelings. But I don't know. I haven't read this in a long time. But I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's quite good. There's some really good lines in here. And they did flirt a little bit. I guess there was a bit of flirting. This is like... So the reason I said this isn't canon is because I think they're together before this fight happened. Also, I don't think she fought Ana Nexus first, because Ana Nexus is a god, bro. I think this is a late fight. Bro. I think she switches to fighting. So Vendra is like... The main thing in her story is that like... So basically, she was really good. Like, she fought like all the women, and she was really good. She beat them all. And she never even got hit. It wasn't close. And then basically what happened was she beat them all, and she made like a statement where she was like, I want to fight some of the men, because it's like people joke like we're not good, and I want to show them that we're just as good. And it became like a really big thing. Like the crowd was like, fuck yeah, let's see that. But the master of like the person that owns her, basically, you know, the person that owns a lot of these gladiators, and specifically her, he didn't believe that she was good enough still. Or, well, it's not really that. It's just like he wants to make sure she doesn't die, because she's pretty big now, right? It's like everybody wants to see her fight, because it's like, oh my god, we're going to see like a woman fight a man now. First time ever. It's a big deal. Like Vendra's making new waves kind of thing. So basically that's why she gets assigned to be like Belial's student, because they don't really do students, like they don't really do like, you know, apprentices. They teach all their gladiators like at once, like they just teach them. They have like a doctore, and like he teaches them. But this is the first time where like this master's like, you're gonna learn from him, because he fights in the same style and he's the best. Like he's one of the best. So yeah. Yeah, I really like this though. I really like this. Like one of my favorite part of this is like the end where she gets her name, because like the De Klingentanzeren, that means like the blade dancer. So like Vendra De Klingentanzeren, it means like Vendra the blade dancer. So like this last part, that's how she gets her name. When he's like, do you remember anything else, like something long gone? And she says like, I remember back when I was a little girl, I wanted so much to be a dancer. And then he like kind of equates it to this situation, and then says like Vendra De Klingentanzeren, and that's like where she gets her name, the blade dancer. It's like a double meaning, sort of. But also the way she fights. I mean, she fights with dual swords. Like they both fight with dual swords, and the way she fights is quite elegant. So it's almost that like of a dancer, perhaps. Damn, that's pretty good though. I like that. I like that more than I remember. I really like the beginning where it treats him like he's bad, right? Like that's the vibe I'm going for with the new thing too, right? Like where is it? Let me find it. Like this. As soon as Vendra spotted him, her posture straightened. A feeling of wickedness swept in alongside him. It adorned him like a fragrance bursting into the room. She could feel it deep in her chest. Her heart skipped a beat at the sight of him. That's a cool reference too. Her heart skipped a beat at the sight of him, which when I wrote it like this, makes it sound like she's afraid of this guy, like he's scary. But in reality, when you look back on it, like her heart skipping a beat is because she loves him. That's pretty cool. I like little lines like that where it's like it's written in a way that makes you think one way, but it's not. It's the other way. It's cool. Little shit like that. So I guess I was a little bit in my bag back then too. I just didn't write the weird lines, but also the weird lines are better for Grail's stuff. I will say, like the Grail story has like a lot of weird, cool lines. But I mean, this one had like one or two actually that I was kind of surprised about. I don't know where they are though. Also, I really like when she's describing like his fight. Her describing his fight is pretty cool. Yeah, her describing his fight's pretty badass. I also really like this moment, like where it's funny. It's like, because she's talking about how like basically he got hit in the face, with a sword, so he lost half his vision, and like it happened mid fight, and he was still fighting, so he pretty much couldn't see, like barely at all, and anyways, I really like this line where she was like, basically like, oh yeah, right here, where she's like, that's all it took to thrust the main straight through him. The look on his face, and she like paused, and he's like, I wish I could have seen it, and like laughs, and they both kind of like smirk and laugh about that. It's kind of a funny line because she's obviously saying like the look on his face, like he was winning that fight, and you somehow stayed alive, and like you somehow made something happen out of nothing. And he's just obviously like, yeah, I wish I could have seen that. Like, obviously couldn't see shit. That's a pretty good line. Pretty funny line, like a kind of like a lighthearted line in the midst of everything. Damn, this got me excited to write the other short story, man. A Long Way from Zion. That's what it's gonna be called. I don't even know if I have the part, like the thing that goes to that anymore, bro. That's actually something that I'm a bit worried about. I need to look into that. I don't know if I have it. It's just where is it? Renmore Reaper. Not there, not there, not there. I don't see it anywhere, bro. I mean, it's here somewhere. Oh, dude, the Long May She Reign goes so hard, bro. That's one of the best things I've ever wrote. God damn, I'm finding some good shit. Let me look through my phone. I think there's some old shit down here. Ooh, that's old too. That's really old. Damn, I've got some cool characters too that aren't really in here yet. In any stories yet. Oh, the sound of my boots got the whole block jumpy. That's a good line. That's an old one I wrote. Damn, I wrote that like a year ago, bro. That's a good line for Grail. Hmm. Wait, what happened? This is not all my notes. No way. Ain't no way. Damn, that line's cool too. Ooh, what's this? I love finding different writing that I just forgot about. I'm just gonna read this and see what this is. Oh my god, I forgot about this. Oh, bro. Damn, that line's crazy, bro. Holy shit. I'm kind of gassed over that line now. Hang on. I found some good shit. Damn, that's cold as fuck, bro. Hang on, I gotta read you guys this shit. Alright, first part might not be great. I skipped the first part, but I'm gonna read it just so we understand what's happening. But this line that she has is dirty as fuck, dude. This rant. I forgot I wrote this shit. I'm kind of gassed over this right now, bro. And this is like solved part of my issue for what was missing. So you know how Grail, like, she kind of has some problems, like, you know, she hurts herself a little bit. And I've referenced, like, you haven't seen it yet, but I've referenced that she's, like, not only, like, she's hit herself before. Like, she's knocked herself out before. That's a thing she's done before. Like, actually hit herself. Just crazy. Like, a lot. I wrote this. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if the first part of this is good. I only read the line, which is really hard. It's going to be hard for me to read because it's so much slang. But anyways. When someone is nervous, the hand may shake. But that shake, when the hand is nervous, or when someone is nervous, the hand may shake, but when hatred pulses through your veins, that shaking never ends. Rapid movements so small the eye can barely perceive it. But she felt it as she held, yeah, okay. Sorry, there was a missing word. But she felt it as she held the long blade to her chest. Even without an immediate intention to stab more, she readied the action, almost edging her hate and sorrow into the next gateway. Too bad the blood streaming down her nose that traced a river down her face. That's written horribly, but it is what it is. Too bad the blood streaming from her nose that traced a river down her face was siphoning hatred from her. This river of blood filled in the cracks of her gnarly lip scar before joining the next trace that came from her lip. It's not written well, I just wrote it down on my phone. Busted up and blackened, she sat slumped over in a corner in this bando with knife in hand. Breathing was hard, but eating later would be far worse. This wasn't the first time, and most likely wouldn't be the last time either, but through the pain in her heart, she continued to mumble out thoughts with weak physicality, but somehow maintaining harsh vocal. I swear, all you neeks are the same, like to talk and get verbal, but have any of you ever done sat in a bando tanking on all the times you could have left man sick? All I can think about are the times I dipped man down and felt pure riz. I got hatred back in this stick. I ain't in it for the pang. I'm only here 'cause I love doing leaks. Her eyes began to close. I know none of you neeks done splashed a man down and felt his bones. You tank your bad, come show me what's beneath. I'm itching to back this blade. I'll dip down pricks, stomp these boots. I'll leave man missed. She continued to speak to an empty room, eyes going wide once more like the knife wound on her arm. But her head remained still, like the blood dried onto her face. She tightened the grip of the long blade, which loosened when she spotted Vic's face. Grail? He spoke, not surprised at her current state. What happened? What's it over this time? It was me this time, just me over me. You mean you did this? What, you think any of the neeks around could bust me up? I got enough to go around, trust. I wrote that. Dude, the rant goes hard, bro. I can't read it very well because it's hard. All these neeks are the same, like to talk and get verbal, but have any of you ever done sat in a bando tanking on all the times you could have left man sick? All I can tank on are the times I dipped man down and felt pure riz. I got hatred back in this stick, ain't in it for the pang, only here 'cause I love doing leaks. I know none of you neeks done splashed a man down and felt his bones. You tank your bag, come show me what's beneath. I'm itching to back this blade and dip down pricks. I'll stomp these boots and leave man missed. That shit goes so hard, bro. Damn. I wrote that shit when I was mad. I know I wrote that shit when I was mad. I really like the, like, all I can think about are the times I dipped man down and felt pure riz. That's crazy, bro. And, like, have you ever sat in a bando tanking on all the times you could have left man sick? That's crazy, too. And she, like, repeats it. Sort of, like... I think she repeats that line. Oh, never mind. I thought I repeated that line. No, not really. Yeah, that goes crazy. That goes crazy. I like that a lot. I gotta put this somewhere. Where is this gonna go, though? Where is that gonna go? That's gotta be kind of late. So it would be... I don't know where that would go. It would have to be pretty late. Or, well, Gotta think of what she would be mad about. Sworn in? It could go in sworn in. Possibly. Could go in sworn in. Because sworn in is blank right now, first of all. But I don't know, she's quite young in sworn in still. I think she's, she might be 17. I guess that's old enough. She's pretty big around that age. She's pretty tall and pretty imposing. That might work. Ooh, I forgot. Dude, that line, I didn't even read that. So, like, at the end, he was like, what happened? What was it over this time? Because he's like, she's obviously hurt. She's, like, busted up. And she says, it were just me this time. Just me over me. Obviously, she's saying, like, I did this shit. And he replies by saying, like, you mean you did this? And she says, what, you think any neek around here could bust me up? I got enough to go around, trust. Like, basically, she's like, what, you think anybody's tough enough to fuck me up? Like, ain't nobody can do this to me. Like, I did this. Of course I did. And then, And then she adds on by saying, I didn't read this line, but she adds on by saying, not the first time I busted my lip. This time I weren't even mad. Man just had to teach a lesson. That's pretty hard, actually. She says she wasn't even mad. That's crazy, actually. I mean, it's a lie. It's a lie in like what I wrote right here, because I wrote her the line that like she's obviously mad. But I can definitely use that line somewhere else because that is a feeling that I've had too, where it's like it's one thing to do something like bad when you're mad, but it's another thing to like have something bad like that and it just be like I wasn't even mad this time. I just knew it needed to happen kind of shit. Like that's like a different level of shit cuz it's like yeah, like I chose this exactly when I was calm. That's crazy. Cuz I could build a scene off of it like that where like take this scene, I could split this scene up basically. I could take the scene where he finds her beat up and yeah, she's obviously like, what, you think somebody else could do this to me? And then she has that line of like, shit, I wasn't even mad this time. I just had to like, there's just certain things you can't let slide. That goes crazy. Like, raw, I weren't even mad this time. I weren't even mad this time. It'd be so hard to care for her. Like, Vic does care for her, but it would be so hard to care for Grail, bro. Like, literally, yeah, so this line would be like, not the first time I busted my lip, raw, I weren't even mad this time, just some things man can't let slide, you get me? Yeah, that goes pretty hard. Like, she's actually not even mad. And I would make this scene, I wouldn't, like, Grail doesn't really, like, lie or embellish too much. She is actually pretty straightforward. So if I use this line, I'm actually gonna make the scene, like that's seriously what happened. Like, she actually wasn't mad this time. It's like, I just fucking did this shit because I felt like it. Like, it had to happen. Like, I did something, like, she did something she didn't respect. So it's like, I have to do this now. Damn, that's actually crazy. It's very real, too. That's crazy. All right, copy. Go to Google Docs. Untitled document. What happened to everyone? The chat is so dead now. What happened? Alright, I got this shit pulled up. Copy. Still here, yeah. Everybody disappeared at the same time. I was like, what happened? Sworn in. I don't know if it would be in sworn in though. And I could put it here for now, but I don't think it'd be in sworn in. Damn, I was hoping someone would respond to all that shit I read. I thought it was good anyways. Wait, why does it have these little things? I don't like that. Do I like that? I don't think I do. Sworn in.
It would be at the end. Yeah, but it would only be at the end if she has to do something that makes her. Well, it depends on which part we're keeping. If we're keeping the angry part, like this, the rant part, if we're keeping that shit, then what would need to happen is Garrus would like say something about her being a girl, and they'd get into a fight, and or not a fight, a physical fight, but like an argument, and then maybe like he's acting tough, and she's saying this about him. Like I swear they're all the same. They all like to get verbal, but ain't none of you ever sat in a bando taking all the times you could have left man sick, like that shit. So we could go that route of like if she could be angry after the initiation sort of shit, or we could go this route where the initiation shit happens and something she does she doesn't respect or like, she like regrets it or has like a problem with it, so she busts herself up basically, and then says like, "Raw, I'm not even mad this time. I just got these like I just had things like certain things you can't let slide." I weren't even mad? Weren't even mad? Is that how you spell that? I just don't know if it's like too much too soon, because like Sworn In should be a part where there's not really any violence. Like there should be some slight breaks in the violence, not necessarily in the anger. There doesn't need to be breaks in the anger, but there does need to be breaks in the violence. Like I don't really like, because we know what just happened in Revenant. So Sworn In, she should be recovering and joining the gang. It's like, or well, actually, she doesn't need to be recovering because this will be months, and this will actually be months later. Scratch that. She doesn't need to be recovering. She will be recovered already. This will be months later. But I feel like I kind of want this part to not be like, her beating herself up sort of shit. But I don't know where else it could fit in. It could fit in here, I guess. Let me think for a second. Well, definitely not the rant. The rant part doesn't, but maybe the like. Actually, yeah, this fits really well. Hang on. Like, let's see. This whole part right here, like her tightening her grip, seeing Vic, and then just being like, bro, I weren't even mad this time. Like, I just had something to sort out. This could work in Life Sentence because there's something she does in here, actually, that she really regrets. Like, she genuinely regrets it. This works here, actually. And damn, this relates to me in like some serious ways. Holy fuck. This actually works really well. Because this scene is already, like this line's already based on something I felt, like a really weird feeling I felt before that's, I wouldn't say it's important to me, but it's something that I felt that I guarantee you nearly nobody's felt before. I guarantee, if there's any feelings that I've felt that most people haven't, it's that one. It's a weird one. I don't want to discuss it that much, I don't think, but anyways. Yeah, that's a weird feeling to feel. Maybe she's not beating herself up, but more so talking about it. I mean, that could be possible as well, but I think Grail doesn't really talk about it. She does it. So, I don't know. I think it works like this. So, like this, she does something in Life Sentence. Well, she doesn't. She does it in A Web of Crooked Thoughts. A Web of Crooked Thoughts, she does something. Then she has a discussion with Vic about kind of regretting it. But something wild happens at the end of this, which is fucking crazy. Then Life Sentence happens. Wait. Yeah, because we're definitely gonna need something else. We need one more right here somewhere. We need one more part, I think. If I'm calculating it correct. Because Web of Crooked Thoughts, she does something bad that she ends up kind of regretting. Ones Who Walk Like Me, she talks to Vic, and then some wild shit happens in the end. Then we've got Life Sentence, which will have to be moved down here. I lied.
Because life sentence needs to be the last part. So actually, I don't know if this will go here. This might go in the one before this. I'm gonna put this just to remind me. It's not what it's gonna be called, but I'm gonna put that there because that's something that will remind me of what is supposed to be in there. Because we're gonna move this here. Paste. Alright, boom. This life sentence has to be, this needs to be the last one. Because there's gonna be this line. I think this line, unless I change it some, this is gonna be the line that ends the whole short story. Something like that. Roughly. Life sentence, that's what it's a reference to. I told you this road shit is for life, Ak. There's like that feeling of like never being able to escape it. Cause like she starts out, she gets it like, you know, goes into the gang, she gets into the gang violence shit. She does something she regrets. She feels like she wants to leave the gang. And then there's one last, like, fucking nail in the coffin where it's like, nah, never mind. I told you this road shit is for life. Like, this is my life. That's the vibe. Kind of a bit of a bitter end, but it's like, that's how it's meant to be. It's Grail's story. It's bitter. Like, there isn't a happy ending. There is no, like, nice shit in here. Like, this shit is for life. That's the feeling. We're making some pretty goddamn good progress. We're making enough progress that I might have to start on that other short story soon. Damn, I really want to start on it, dude. I really want to write some. I'm in like the mood to write the Belial Vendra shit now. Like I'm kind of gassed on that now. I actually really want to write them. I mean, I'm doing this, but then I'm gonna have to change them later, probably. Because I'll add another part here and there, or whatever. I really don't like that when you type these, it goes white. You can't see the text. It's really annoying. I don't know why it does that, but you literally can't see what you're typing. See, like that. I can't tell that that was there. So I just have to remember how to write it. That. Actually surprised I did that right. And then if you fuck up something, you just gotta delete it all and then retype it because you don't know what's fucked up in there or not. So we have 15 parts right now. And then this one, possibly. If we want another one. Then we could do like... Ah, fuck, why didn't we do that? God damn it. I wonder if that'd be hard to do real quick. That's what we should have done. Fook.
Spook. Can you put a folder in a folder? You probably can. Oh, I bet I know what I can do. I bet I know what I can do. Collections? Add collection. What is a collection? Oh. 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 That's not what we want to do. I don't know what that was. New text. New folder. Oh, but this is like one of these bitch boy folders. We want the big boy folders. Don't we? How do we get one of these folders? One of the click open folders. I don't remember how to do that. Maybe it has to be in a manuscript. Manuscript. No, they're all in this manuscript. It doesn't matter. Ooh, how do I do that? Oh, I kind of like that you can separate them. But that won't be necessary if I can figure out how to do the other thing, really. Oh, there we go. Wait, why is it doing this? Huh? What's happening here? Hey, I'm walking here. Move to trash. There we go. There we go. The Renmore Reaper. Boom. 1, 2, 3. We'll do that. Then we can fold it down. That way it's not everywhere. Oh. Wait, that's not right. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Oh, and this one too, I guess. Now I need to put these in a folder together somehow. I don't know if I can do that without messing them up. I really don't want to mess them up either. And I guess it's not that deep, but it would look a lot cleaner if I could do that real quick. I'm not gonna lie. It would look a lot cleaner. Oh, that's wrong. How did I do that? I don't know how to do. Oh, wait. Here we go. There we go. Boom. We're starting the other ones. I just don't know what Nellie's is called. Which is a really shameless.
I don't know what Nellie's short story will be called. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to call Nellie's short story. I am not sure. I mean, I think something that involves dreams, something that involves roses. Those work. Or I could do like... Well, I could do this. I mean, this is my favorite. So this is my favorite. Right now, this is a title for one of her chapter names. It's my favorite chapter name, I think. It looks a bit odd. Like the way it's phrased looks a bit odd, but it is like my favorite title for her. It makes a lot of sense. Ah, funny. These aren't it, bro. These aren't it, bro. Not yet. It's gonna be really hard for you to name it, because this is the most important... Out of the three, this is the most important title. This one has to be perfect. It has to be... That's why I'm already like... It probably won't be this one, because this is a great name for a chapter, or like for a part, but it's not good enough for the whole thing. And I would call it this. This is what I should call it, technically. Should be that. If I was gonna call it something that makes sense, I'd call it that like fits and all that shit. But the problem with this is that this is a massive thing in the book. So it can't really be this, but this is like what I think of when I think of Nellie. Or I think of Zweisamkeit, which is obviously what the book is called, so it's not that either. Like the book is already based on Nellie. That's the problem. Is like I've already used the Nellie stuff in the book, like the Nellie titles in the book, on the book. So it's like, what do I call this one? It's hard. How do you do it? I mean, most of the time I write the thing first, but the title for a whole thing is tough because, like, what the Renmore Reaper came from. Obviously, like, well, the Renmore Reaper is the most simple one, I think, because like she's from Renmore. She does some pretty bad things, and then like I had that line that I wrote in the book, you know, where she was like, "Oh, if you would have saw what I did that day in Renmore, then you just stayed at home." Because back there, they called me the Reaper. The way I did that, man, was way too grim. Like, that shit, that's where it came from. So it's like, it's just Grail's, like, nickname. The Renmore Reaper.
And then A Long Way from Zion, which I really like that. I think I'm going to keep that. A Long Way from Zion is also a reference to, I couldn't find it in my notes though. I was trying to find it. There's a line I wrote, Belial like and Vendra, where they're like talking, they're talking, and they're talking about what they're going to do when they're free, if they're ever free. They're like, hoping. They're hoping that one day they'll be free. And they're talking about where they're going to go, and he like mentions like Atani, which is like where he's from. And Vendra's like, "Yeah, I'd love to go there." But she also like mentions like, "Well, I heard Zion's quite beautiful." And like he replies by saying like, "Yeah, but we're quite a long way from Zion." And well, she's like, "Yeah, but we obviously should set our goals higher. Like, we should hope, But also Zion is like a peaceful place. So like the name, it's a double meaning. A long way from Zion means like they're physically very far from it, but it also is a reference to the fact that Zion is a really peaceful place. It's like the most peaceful place out of the three, like big countries in my book. So like a long way from Zion refers to like the fact that they're not in a very peaceful place as well. A pretty good name. Let's see, what else is there? Could also be amethyst related, but probably not. Maybe something to do with the stars, but probably not that either. Definitely flowers are a big one. Like anything to do with like flowers or something is good. I don't know. I do need to find. I need to find a title for it soon. I actually have art. You know how I have like the Grail. You know how the Grail short story has a cover. I actually have art of the Nelly one, almost done, or well, it's slowly getting done. I could send it to you real quick. You can see it. It's not done yet, obviously. I just sent it to you on Discord. Funny if you want to look at it, but that's like art of the Nelly one that's being worked on. It's just like we're obviously working on it, but this is like gonna be the cover of her short story. It's like a picture of her, kind of a picture of her writing. Put the title up top probably or something maybe, I don't know. And then we're gonna add something real cool in it too. There's gonna be a shadow. There's like a ghost, because that's a thing for her. Looks really good. Yeah, she looks really lovely here. I really like this picture of her, so I'm excited to get this done. Uh, yeah, I'm not sure what to call it though. I need to think of a name for it before like the artist finishes it. But I mean, they're gonna be a while to be honest. So I have time. They're busy, so we don't even work on like we've been working on it for a long time. It's like they don't have a lot of time, so I love that she's grabbing the necklace. Me too. Yeah, because the necklace matters to her a lot, so I love that too. There's a lot of little details to this room too. She has like the D20s, like basically like D&D dice, which is a reference to her character. Like she plays some like D&D in the game. Well, it's not called D&D, but she plays some basically. And there's like a miniature there that we're gonna do. She's obviously got like the flowers, the candle. She's writing. She's left-handed. She's got the rings. We got all the colors, like the fingernail colors that I feel like she likes. We've got the sword and the shield, which is like her training gear. Like she's like working to become a knight. We have like the stuff piling out of the desk or like the drawer because she's kind of a bit like messy, like her room. We got like this specific pillow
which actually matters a lot. The pillow is like one of the most important things. But yeah, we have her holding the necklace. That's really good. Got books, because she obviously likes to read a lot. We got a lot. We packed a lot of detail into it. Some reason, the yes? The what? What do you mean? What scare you? Miles, sorry? Wait, what about it scares you? What do you mean? Oh, shit, yeah, I don't know what to call it though. I hope she doesn't. She's not supposed to. What does the writing on the mirror say? That's I think just notes for. I think that's notes the artist was writing. That's not actually. We could actually we could write something on the mirror though. That'd be kind of cool. But no, there's no writing on the mirror. That's just. I think that's about the flowers. They're like writing notes about it. The book is just scribbles right now, but it's gonna actually probably say something. I just gotta figure out what it's gonna say. Alright, I might get off, I guess. I don't know. Perhaps that might be the play. It's 4:30 in the morning, so I could probably sleep some now, I guess. Let me just type this in. Nellie's short story. Have a good day at work, man. Oh, I don't work tomorrow. I work the next day. Like hang on. Let me rephrase that. I don't work today because it's 4:30 in the morning. I don't work today. I work tomorrow, like technically tomorrow. So I got one more day off essentially, but obviously I'm spending half of it going to sleep now probably. But anyways, yeah, no, I work tomorrow. I work Thursdays through Sundays. I'm off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But alright, I appreciate you hanging out with me. And yeah, I'll be on tomorrow some. I don't know at what time, but I'll be on it. I'll be on tomorrow, so. Yeah, see you later today, man. Peace out, guys.